God,
113.
Like
Is it?
Yeah.
Okay. All right, we're back. Morse Code Podcast, Dan Morris, Soapy Pre-Up. And finally, our super producer, Brian Lahey, is actually here in person. He has shown up to work for the first time in over a year.
I thought this got canceled. I thought you guys quit on this.
I was hoping it would, but it didn't.
We keep trying to cancel ourselves. That's for sure.
Yeah, sure do. So Brian, thanks for joining us. How are you tonight?
I'm good. How are you, gentlemen?
Good. Thanks for asking.
Yeah. I didn't want to. I just felt like I should. It's your show, so.
Yeah. Well, it's much our show is your show for the most part.
I don't know. I forgot the show existed. So.
Likewise, that makes two of us.
Mm-hmm. God, I love
no,
it.
It's good to be back. It's been, I think we were last on like a week ago. Took some time off to enjoy the holiday weekend. I'm not sure what Soapy did this past week.
Probably
Brian,
a concert.
Interesting
Several
point.
concerts.
That's
gonna happen soon. I think there are concerts scheduled in the near future. No.
Yeah, I mean they're
Soapy?
there. Are they good? I can't imagine they're that great.
I'm going to a Smashing Pumpkins reunion tomorrow night. So
that's cool. Are you going to any concerts in the near future? That's what we were asking you.
He's going to their house for the reunion.
Yeah. This is just hors d'oeuvres and a little
Finger
10-year
sandwiches.
get together. Check in on how everyone's doing.
I also didn't know if you meant like by Smashing Pumpkins reunion, some sort of weird like post-Halloween thing where you like find smashed pumpkins and literally reunite them and like put them back together.
Oh yeah, this is because we didn't really get a Halloween last year. So
that's true. That's true. So let's start here. So certainly enough going on. Thank Christ the Celtics are eliminated. I don't think we need to spend any time talking about that. I don't know. Go ahead, Brian. I was going to say, as an unbiased fan or an unbiased viewer. Was that the most
difficult time to try and cheer on the Celtics? Because they were running into a brick wall. Like they literally had no chance on that one.
A brick wall named Jeff Green. Well, I'm pretty sure it was hurt most of the series anyway, if not all of the series.
But there was no good defensive scheme you could run against them at all, no matter what. And it's just infuriating. Like you just can't do anything there.
Yeah, it's a tough look. I was actually surprised by the number. I know the big three on the Nets didn't play a lot during the regular season. I think the number was like 9 or 7 games they played. Does that sound right to you guys?
Yeah.
That seems alarmingly low.
Yeah.
And they look great.
Yeah.
Like now.
I mean, you got to remember Durant and Harden played together for years. Kyrie has never really played a full season. I mean, unless I'm missing something on that one. So that's kind of par for the course there. Mm-hmm. And I mean, not for nothing, when you have that level of talent between those three people, they don't really have to play on the floor that much together to really get in sync. I don't think, at least. They're just
I agree. I remember they talked about that last year when Westbrook went to Houston. Remember, they're like, we're going to run a lot of options where they won't be together on the floor at all times. And I was like, well, that sounds like a really good team, because a team led by James Harden is really good. And when James Harden gets tired, a team led by Russell Westbrook is also very good. Yeah. So that sounds like that'd be a very good team. It's so fact, though, that's a pretty good team. Yeah.
That was a weird thing that Rockets team just straight stunk. They were just so bad.
They weren't very good. What happened? They lost in the second round?
I believe
so. To the Lakers.
Yeah.
Tough look. You think the Lakers lose tonight?
I don't think so. I think it goes 7. I mean, when you have LeBron, it's kind of impossible to rule out LeBron.
It's in Los Angeles, right, Soapy?
Yeah.
Wow.
California.
Yep. Yes. Thank you.
Wait, is that where the Lakers play?
More often than not.
I'll Google it, but I'm pretty sure. Yeah, I don't want to waste.
Don't waste your time.
How many lakes?
For sure, where they play.
How many lakes are there?
Several.
News to me.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. Yeah, they'll win. I don't know. I'm certainly not going to watch it, so I'll wake up and see. I could see myself opening the app and seeing them with less points than the Phoenix Suns. I don't know.
I think it really depends. Is Davis playing tonight? Because I know he didn't play the last game.
I saw something leaked that said he was in the lineup. Some weird betting site had him in the lineup.
Yeah, if he plays, I would think it's kind of hard for the Suns to take out LeBron in an elimination game when LeBron literally has someone else that can play basketball.
I feel like Chris Paul must be having like PTSD back to when he was on the Rockets and he got hurt going into game 6. And he hasn't heard since then that we would have won the series if we had a healthy Chris Paul.
So which he wants to do it again.
I don't know if this matters or not. That's false. But but I don't know. I think this reminds me a lot of that Celtics Heat series and the year they went to the finals against the Thunder, right? Celtics were up 3-2 going into game 6 in Boston. And LeBron James literally ended the Celtics dynasty in one night. Well, whatever you want to call it. The Celtics big 3 in one night. And then game 7 was irrelevant. You knew they were going to win. So if they win tonight, they'll go back to Phoenix and win. But
did you hear about Chris Paul wanting to opt out to sign $100 million contract?
Yeah, he said no to like $44 million, right? It's a casual no thank you.
First of all, timeout right off the bat. How the hell does Chris Paul think that $44 million for one more season is not enough money for him?
Hey, real quick, you can say heck. You don't need to
I'm just not going to. But how does he think realistically that $44 million isn't enough to go another season with Phoenix? How is he going to get $100 million?
Is he just going to become like a one and done type like veteran?
I mean, I don't see any other option at this point because who's going to offer...
Oh, there's definitely an option for $45 million. Just do it again.
Fair.
I'd say that's a decent option.
As far as what he wants to do, it sounds like he wants to sign a more than a 2-year deal for $100 million. So who's going to offer him that? He's 36 years old. And it's not like he's Chris Paul of 2010.
No, that's true. That's true. I don't know. I'm curious. So if he opts out, which it sounds like he verbally did, he's an unrestricted free agent this year. He only signed a 1-year deal, or like a 1-and-1. It sounds like.
I think it was a 1-and-1. Yeah.
Would you sign Chris Paul, Soapy, for $100 million? Like just sign him
to like.
He's your employee.
My husband or something. Oh.
He's employed by Pre-App Industries.
No, I don't think so.
Yeah, I don't know. And then what else? Oh, actually, sorry, not to go too far off. So going back to the Celtics that you brought up, I had a thought today. I thought I'd ask you guys. So the big 3 have played together only a handful of times in the regular season. They look very good in the postseason. I thought about this too. Take that roster, and even if one of them played at a time, like say 2 are injured at all times, and you put that star around. Like if say Harden's playing and KD and Kyrie out, you fill in KD and Kyrie with an average player, an average to even sub-average player. That's still a very good team in the East. Would you agree? Okay,
absolutely.
So now you have all 3, like to Lahey's point. Like, what the fuck are you supposed to do?
Yeah,
like they're all 3 isocentric. Definitely KD and Harden, I would say elite level scorers, maybe all-time scorers. So basically, like if I'm Harden. If I can't for some reason score, which I'm already very good at, I can defer to Kevin Durant. If I also can't score, I can defer to Kyrie Irving. I genuinely don't know what you're supposed to do.
I think in that example, the only one of those 3 where it doesn't work as well is if Kyrie's the star you're around because of the fact that he's just such a basket case when it comes to mental aspect and he's hurt all the time. Whereas Harden's good at facilitating and setting other people up, and he doesn't get hurt overly often. And Durant is the best scorer that we've seen in all facets. He's just so versatile and so large and so quick. So realistically, 2 out of those 3 would still make them a top half of the East, top 4 seed in the East, even if you only had 1 and they have all 3.
They happen to have all of them, which is like the interesting part of it that I don't know, lamestream media is not talking about, but all 3 of those guys happen to play on the court at the same time. One would argue it's tough to defend.
You couldn't even make that roster in a video game via trades. It's like you can't fantasy draft that roster in a video game. You can't trade for that roster. It's impossible. And that's a real life team. Like they exist.
Is there any example of Kyrie being the lead guy and it not working out too well? Can we think of any?
Not in recent memory. Not locally.
I was just going off of what Brian said.
Well, I mean, you got to think before when he first got drafted, he had a couple years before LeBron got traded back. I mean, again, it's kind of tough to go with him being that young because it's not really fair to have someone at 20, 21 be that level of star and lead a team. But
yeah,
I mean,
I know.
I'm being totally sarcastic.
Yeah, I know you're going for a Celtics angle, but that's a good point. I feel like that's a forgotten Kyrie. How long was he on his own before LeBron came back? A couple of years.
Yeah, I think
he
it was
drafted
like
in 11. Years. So 1, 2.
He came back the Andrew Wiggins year. Yeah, exactly. He never made the playoffs. No, those Cavs.
No.
Wow. What are you?
But again, he was young.
Waiters, which was very cool.
They had Deion Waiters, but I think he was hurt sometimes, so you can't. Really
and Alonzo G. So they were the first big three in Cleveland that no one talks about.
Real underrated. I don't know.
One talks about.
LeBron had Big Z.
Hold on.
Trinas Ilgauskas. I don't know if we want to discount that team.
Ooh, and a way past his prime, Anton Jameson.
Yeah. What was Kyrie's rookie year?
I think it was 2011, 2012.
Let's pull up that roster real quick. Who, without looking like I am, who you guys would legit think are like the best players around Kyrie Irving in 2012?
I'm gonna go. Tristan Thompson was also in that draft, right?
I don't know.
Weren't they picked like 1 and 3? You know? I think they were the same draft. I think Kyrie and Thompson were that year where Cavs had 2 top 5 picks. I could be wrong on that.
Here we go. Hold on. I mean, they finished a respectable 24 and 58.
All right. Well, the answer's already Omer.
7 seed.
Remember the head coach?
Well, I have it in front of me, so that's not really fair.
Was it Byron Scott?
Sure was. Yep, yeah. Lord Byron Scott. Oh, Lahey, you would love this team.
Dude, they had Omer. Yeah, they had a whole cast. Yeah, I already said that was the 3rd best player.
Boobie Gibson, Sean Livingston, CJ Miles. Good grief. What was CJ Miles doing in the NBA in 2013?
Collecting a paycheck from the Cavs.
Tristan Thompson was on that team.
$7 million a year.
Yeah, Anderson Varejao, of course, was on the Cavs at that time. Luke Walton, Tyler Zeller. I always confuse Tyler and Cody Zeller. I know they both stink, but one is arguably better than the other, right?
Yeah, sure. Cody is considerably better than Tyler. Not that that's saying much.
Would you guys say that do you think like general consensus the Plumlee family is better than the Zeller family?
Yeah.
At pro basketball?
Yeah, because the Plumlees are athletic for their size. The Zellers look as fucking clumsy and like awkward and stupid on the basketball court as you would picture them to be.
Yeah. Who I always forget. We talked about this before. Who's actually 2 questions. Who's the best Plumlee? It's Mason, right? He's like the tall, somewhat fit one.
Mm-hmm. Okay. Yeah. He's in Detroit right now.
Right. And who's the Zeller that's currently on the Hornets?
Cody.
And he's been there forever.
This is my only thing about it. If you compare just those 2, they're very similar as far as talent level, right?
The families?
No, just Mason Plumlee and
Miles Plumlee.
No, that's where it gets fun. Miles Plumlee had that random like 1 to 2 years where he put up weird numbers that were.
Well, who am I forgetting? I thought Mason and Miles.
Yeah.
No. The Plumlees are Mason and Miles, right?
Yes.
And then the Zellers are Cody and Tyler.
Yeah.
I believe there is a 3rd Plumlee to clarify.
Me too. That's what I'm trying to remember.
But Lahey is comparing the best Zeller versus the best Plumlee.
I got you.
Yeah, and those are very similar. And then if you go the next tier down between Tyler Zeller and Miles Plumlee.
Yeah. Okay.
I mean, Miles had
peak for peak. It's a pretty competitive family.
Yeah.
But after that, they stink.
If you're going career ranks, Tyler has the up on that one.
So I made this point to Brian in our group chat before we got on. We have a whole document ready to go. Really nice detailed show notes, but again, we spent the first 16 minutes comparing the Plumlees versus the Zellers, which sounds like a fucking Game of Thrones plot.
and going over the fucking 2012 Cavaliers.
Yeah. There's this other guy, Kevin Jones. I genuinely have no idea who that is. Jeremy Pargo sounds familiar.
I remember him.
Chris Quinn sounds familiar. Maurice Spates, obviously. Tristan Thompson, Verjao, Dion Waiters. Not a bad team. I don't know.
No, they were a bad team. I don't think you're remembering this team.
Well,
they were a bad team.
I clicked on next season, and this is where Cleveland basketball took a turn for the better. This is when they, of course, invested a first-round draft pick in Anthony Bennett. So they added Bennett. Seth Curry was on this team.
That couldn't have lasted long.
Seth Curry is older. Is he older than Steph Curry?
Yeah.
I always just assumed they were twins.
No,
he's younger, isn't he?
No, he's older.
No, he's got to be younger. Now I think about it, he's definitely younger. He was at Duke when Steph was in the league, right?
I'm looking it up right now.
Yeah, I think Seth is younger.
That's what I thought too. I don't know why I just jumped to a conclusion that he was older. For some reason, I thought Steph Curry wasn't in the league at this time, but I only said that because I didn't see Steph Curry on this Cleveland Cavaliers roster, which is a good thing for Steph Curry. I'm not even going to mention bringing in the Curry family into this debate. I feel like that wouldn't be fair. Anyway, I don't want to go down a deep dive with the Cleveland Cavaliers, but yeah, Nets look very good. Do you think the Nets come out of the East, Brian?
I mean, at this point, I don't know who's going to beat them. Even if you look at like Milwaukee, I don't think defensively they can match up with 3 stars. I mean, that's just the problem. I mean, you could have Giannis cover Durant. You could have Drew cover either Kyrie or Harden, who covers a third one.
Right. And then we talked about this last time. You could literally, actually, you can't. You can't literally double team all of them. You could double team 2 of them and put your best defender on 1. And then just let Joe Harris take literally wide open threes all series,
which he doesn't miss.
Is that your best bet? Yeah, I guess.
Like, he's
is that your best
contest winner. Like, he's a great 3-point shooter. You can't leave him open. Yeah. So.
Yeah. And then as soon as Jeff Green gets out of that walking boot, he's gonna average 40 a night. That's a given if they're playing Boston.
Turnovers.
Yeah. It is an all-time great Boston Killers matchup. You're gonna have Chris Middleton versus the likes of Joe Harris, Jeff Green. I don't know. Would you? I would say the winner of the Brooklyn-Milwaukee series is probably going to take the East. I don't see much from Atlanta, or I kind of hope Atlanta just wins in the next round for fun. I don't know. That's kind of a fun team to watch.
I hate that Atlanta team. I absolutely don't like it. I don't like the whining. I don't like the complaining. I don't put up with that in the sense of, you miss a shot, you think you got fouled. I get that you're going to complain to the ref. Wait till a dead ball. Like, don't do it instead of getting back on transition defense. Like, at least let the play stop before you complain. You know what I mean? So it drives me nuts to watch that.
There is a long history of refs changing their mind and turning over the call in transition on the other end. So,
yeah, while the ball's in the air.
Yeah, it's happened. It happens at least a handful of times every game. So I don't know, but I don't know if I agree with you there. But dude, that's a fair point, I agree. We say that shit about like Tatum all the time. Like, it's just so annoying because it's not, and it's almost like, yes, I think, would you agree? I guess the argument that people make is like, well, it's going to make the ref more aware for like a makeup call on the other end.
Right. But you could do that again during a dead ball.
Yeah. No, that's my point.
You should still play defense before.
Correct. Yeah. I don't know.
And I mean, and I'm saying that as an avid Doncic fan who complains constantly in every game. So like,
it's still different though. I mean, when you talk about the Hawks, are you talking about Trae Young more specifically? Yeah,
pretty much. Because I mean, he's the main one that complains, but he also handles the ball 65% of the time for them. Sure. So it all runs through them. I mean, they have Gallinari, who I've always liked. They have Bogdanovich, who I've always liked. If you notice the trend, but
of course,
it's just I just can't get behind that team. I mean, the last time I paid attention to a Hawks team that was actually good was that weird run they had with like the starting line of Teague, Korver.
Yeah. And they'd be the 1 seed in the East for like 3 years in a row.
Yeah.
Like nobody knew why.
And get fucking mollywopped.
Kyle Korver, Josh Smith, I believe.
Yeah,
was like
Josh Smith.
Their rim defender.
Yeah, like it was just
Al
a weird
Horford
team that went great. And that was the last time I put any faith in the Hawks. Was Millsap there yet?
He was there at some point. I remember there was a legit year, at least 1 or 2 years, they were the 1 seed in the East.
Yeah.
And they would get through the first round and then lose to LeBron or the Celtics.
They would get fucking dusted by the Cavs every year. Close. It was them and Toronto that I feel like they just switched back and forth of like, all right, well, who's going to get killed by the Cavs this year?
Mm-hmm. So that year that they were the 1 seed, I think that it was still Josh Smith, but then he left for that big contract to Detroit, and that's when they got Millsap, who had just left Utah.
Yeah, that sounds right.
And then they were like the 3 seed and still got bounced quickly. And then the following year, I think they were the 1 seed again and got bounced quickly.
Millsap and Horford being in the same front court at the same time is arguably, no, not arguably. I think that's the most boring 1-2 punch of like good players.
The most boring big men possible.
I was going to say they're the same person.
So I know Horford's really been an all-star. I assume Millsap probably has been too at some point, just as like a reserve.
I think so.
Those guys are just out there setting screens and like fundamentally rebounding for 35 minutes a night. It's the most entertaining basketball you could find.
If you ask Kwame Brown, setting screens is a big part of the game.
Dude.
Can lead to 81 points.
Hold on.
I'm not slandering.
What are your thoughts on the Kwame Brown stuff?
Neck, that's fine.
No. Seriously, Lahey, I don't think we've really talked about it.
I'm going to say this.
Mm-hmm.
I'm not going to, because I'm terrified of Kwame Brown. Not that he's ever going to hear this anyways. But I'm not going to discount an NBA prospect who falls into a situation and never develops. I mean, clearly the size was there. The talent level, to some capacity, had to be there for him to be in the top 10 picks of the NBA draft.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know how true all the stories were about like what he went through in his time in the NBA. Of like, because I was reading things where like he was getting beat up by like people during the practice and stuff, and just getting roughed up all the time. So I don't know. Yeah, I don't know how legitimate
and Michael Jordan
that part of the story is. But I'm not going to call him a liar on that one. And if he was getting his ass beat every day, then yeah, obviously he's not going to become a good basketball player.
Yeah,
he also turned it into a long career of being a journeyman. So it's like, well,
no, we talked about that last time.
I'd rather be him than me.
Yeah,
it's like, yeah, you made what was the number he said, like 60 mil or something like that in basketball money? 10 years in the NBA, 60 mil. You live in Los Angeles for the majority of your career. I take that. I also compare, like when people talk about busts, I think it's worth comparing it to the bigger picture of the draft. Like it's based, it's also, and it's all relative to availability. Like I'm looking at the 2001 draft now. I guess you could argue Pau Gasol is the best player in the draft. He's taking third. But again,
player in every draft. I don't know.
But here's what I think. Well, that's true. He was drafted by the Hawks. They must have traded on draft.
Yeah, that was a trade day.
Gotcha.
Draft day trade.
So he came from overseas, right? He was in Spain. I remember this is literally 20 years ago. Like overseas basketball wasn't chronicled like it is today. Like we didn't know anything about these fucking guys.
No, because I think the first one to really break out was Dirk, and Dirk
I would agree.
Probably like 4 years before that.
Something like that. Honestly, like, and then from that, I'm trying to think even like successful overseas guys now. It's like, I mean, Luka's like super recent, but even I feel like there's way more like busts from overseas than decent players.
Yeah.
Right.
Yep. The percentage is still skewed way more to busts than it is to decent players, for sure. I mean, there's also that weird aspect where some of these players get drafted and they can't even come to the NBA because they have to finish out contracts that they're involved in.
Yeah, because they're 14.
Yeah.
Like, I can't legally play here. I'm in 10th grade.
The year Rubio got drafted was the same draft as Donovan when the Rubio. But when he got drafted, he couldn't even come over his rookie season. So he had to sit out of the NBA for an entire season before he came over.
And I think the other like narrative around like overseas foreign players is like white Europeans, which might usually be the case, but there's like a lot, like I'm trying to think, like wasn't Brandon Jennings a legit overseas player? Like he was American, but didn't he play overseas when they drafted him?
He could have been, for sure.
Dante the first one he was overseas, right?
He was Australia, yeah.
Yeah. So, you know what I mean? It's like there's a lot of
Gershon
Gobert.
Yeah. Gobert. Yep. Like guys like that who are household names, but I don't know. I think that the standard like Pau, Luka, Dirk, those are like the standard guys for drafting European overseas players.
Vincent Poirier. Yep.
Yeah. Well, what's
Daniel Tice?
He's fine.
Who's the rookie this year? LaMelo Ball, he played everything up to the NBA overseas.
Yeah.
I don't know. I actually have
RJ Hampton
no idea.
too.
RJ Hampton. I have no idea what race LaMelo Ball is. I know his dad is black. Are they half black, half white? The Ball family?
Yep.
LaMelo Ball's a weird looking young man.
Very lanky. Very
lanky. For being the best basketball player in the family, I certainly wouldn't guess by looking at him.
Remember that game where he dropped 92?
Yeah. In like high school?
Entirely.
In high school or in Europe?
Yeah.
In high school, right?
Yeah. That was a game where I'm pretty sure it was the highlight that they kept showing of him pointing to half court, like 3 steps before he shot from there.
Yeah, no, he's a bad dude. I like LaMelo Ball. I was talking to someone at work today. I really like this rookie class, like this latest rookie class that came in. There's, and Sophie and I talk about this all the time. Like the NBA draft sucks so bad. It's like, I think you can gauge a good draft by having 10 serviceable players. 10 to 15 serviceable players in the league, like 2 years later.
If you're talking about percentages, if you look at it that way, there's only 2 rounds. So you're talking about a total of 60 picks. 25% of the draft being viable options. If we went back to NFL drafts where there's way more picks, I would assume that's
those are mind blowing. We've done that before, like going in the
What about baseball drafts?
Oh my, baseball drafts
42 rounds.
Dude. I will never understand baseball drafts. You can draft, like you would probably know better than us, Lahey. There's players who are drafted like every year by a different team because you're when you're a freshman in high school, and then you have to wait like 6 years to play 3 years in AAA, and then come to the majors when you're fucking 30.
So our friend Corey actually explained this to us. When you're coming out of high school, you can put in for the draft, and then you have to wait until your junior year of college, I think it is, to put in for it again for the next time. So like someone like Mark Teixeira got drafted out of high school by a franchise he didn't want to play for, went to college for a couple of years, then got drafted by, I think it was the Angels. No, it was the Rangers. There was the Rangers on that one.
Didn't Mike Trout get drafted by the Mets?
I believe.
I know he got drafted once before the Angels.
So I don't know if he did because the pick
Angels took him in 2009.
Yeah, because the pick that they got that they used on Trout was from the Yankees in a trade. Okay. So that was a prior trade from way whenever that it turned into them picking Trout. I mean, he could have very well been randomly picked before.
I might have maybe I'm mistaken because there's 38 rounds in a draft. But
you were thrown out.
The Angels took him in 2009, 25th overall. That was the Strasburg draft. That's literally the only like player. Like in NBA, it's like, hey, there's the LeBron draft, the fucking Kwame Brown draft, whatever. Strasburg's the only like legit name I remember. Like that was the Steven Strasburg draft.
They tried to hype the one 2 years ago like that. That catcher that went to Baltimore, Rauschman or whatever. They tried to hype that as it was going to be the same thing. And I mean, the guy's still in the minors. So
I was also going to say Bryce Harper. I remember the Bryce Harper draft that like had a draft around it.
Yeah. Was that a different draft? Because Trout and Harper came up the same year.
No,
was Harper before?
I assumed Harper's younger than Mike.
Harper was either right before or right after, but I thought they came up the same year.
Draft. I mean, it couldn't be that. If he was drafted by Washington, it couldn't be that year because that's the year they took Strasburg in the first round.
Real quick, while Dan is looking this up,
I'm actually texting Mike. I'm actually texting Bryce Harper, but go ahead.
All right, while he's texting Bryce Harper, without taking all context out of it,
1 year later, 2010.
In that Kwame Brown draft, this shows you
that's
how
what
hard
I was
it
looking
is to
at.
draft. Kwame Brown was number 1 overall.
Sure was.
The last pick in the first round was Tony Parker.
Sure. Handful of rings.
So that's how fucking hard it is to draft, or maybe easy. And
that's what I meant to say. I'm sorry. Like when I was talking about like in comparison, best players in the draft, I think Powell, Parker. I think Powell and Parker are interchangeable. I know Lahey's going to say Powell, but
Powell 100%.
Powell, Parker, Joe Johnson was in that draft.
Yeah,
this isn't even a draft.
So that's how far the drop is, by the way. That's how far the drop is. I just went, Powell, Tony Parker, Joe Johnson, Jayson Collins.
There's so many guys in here who had long careers. This was the
Arenas draft. This was the Gilbert Arenas draft where he went in the second round. So it's like there was clearly talent in this draft. To work with. I mean, Richard Jefferson was in this draft. Like,
and that's tough too, because
and his brother Jason Richardson.
Yeah. we talked about like the low profile of European players at the time, like Pau. There's like Gilbert Arenas was a big player at a big university on primetime games, and they still missed him. So Brian Scalabrine, USC. Earl Watson.
There's plenty of people in here with long careers.
Sure are. But again,
here's a question for you. Yeah, how long was Mehmet Okur's career? Because I remember him in Utah, and I don't remember him anywhere else.
Is Mehmet Okur not in the NBA anymore?
I remember him.
I swear to Christ, he is.
Definitely not. He'd be like a record holder if he's still.
He's not a bench player for like.
I remember him on the Pistons.
The Magic.
I remembered him in Utah. That's the one I remember.
Now. I have no idea where he played because I only know him from Lahey taking him in 2K fantasy drafts on a random team. So I know nothing about his actual life.
He played for
Joe Forte.
He played for 10 years. He played for 10 years.
I'd call that a serviceable career. He's one of
a good career. That's a good career. Like, especially he averaged 18 points a game in 2005, 2006.
So I threw out the number 10 serviceable players in a draft. So I would say,
this draft has easily 10, probably 18, 20.
I agree. So I think I would call it a decent draft.
Did we all just overlook Shane Battier in this draft?
Yeah, I saw him. None of us mentioned Zach Randolph either. No,
this got to be your favorite draft of all time.
I would say Pau and Zach Tony Parker was last pick in there. So yeah,
I would go. Pau,
this is a good draft.
Yeah,
Gerald Wallace, Jamal
Tinsley. Joe Johnson. You can't overlook Joe Johnson.
Brandon Haywood. He played at least 10 years. No.
Yeah.
Richard Jefferson played at least 10 years. Troy
Murphy. Wallace. Did anyone say Gerald
Watson? I'm sure.
Gerald Wallace. 10 years. Celtics great.
Yeah, this is a good draft. It's a real good draft.
Earl Watson was taken 40th overall and then ended up being married to Joy Taylor at one point. So I take that.
Yeah, good call. Good career. I would say this. I'm on the Basketball Reference website version of the draft. I think it's a good sign that you didn't make it when you don't have a hyperlink under your name to click on and get like more info about your career. Like Michael Wright, who went 39th overall. Dude, Arizona showed out in this draft. Holy shit.
Yeah.
Richard Jefferson, Gilbert Arenas, and then one Michael Wright. Doesn't even warrant I can't even search him individually to look up his career. That can't be a good look.
And it's such a generic name that like you could Google that and get 4 businessmen that have nothing to do with the NBA.
There's probably another Michael Wright from Arizona who's more famous and richer than this guy.
I'd 100% buy into that. If you're taking Michael Wright versus the field of Michael Wrights, I'll take the field. All day, every day.
Dude, Brian Bracey from Oregon? Did we forget about him? The very last pick in the draft?
I didn't forget about him because I've never heard of him. So he's never crossed my conscious brain. Okay, so that's our 2001 draft recap. Going back to current playoffs real quick before we move on. I think we talked about the East. Sounds like Bucks Nets are coming out. One thing I thought of today, let's think there's a reasonable chance that the Lakers and Clippers both lose. Kind of hope it happens. So that means who's going to the finals? Suns, Jazz, Nuggets, or Mavericks. Does Adam Silver immediately go to his closet and hang himself if that happens?
He just crumbles up the bracket and goes, start over. We're doing the playoffs again.
If he gets a Suns Bucks finals, dude, how soon is Adam Silver dead?
No, top that. Jazz Bucks. Come on.
Oh, I thought I
think Phoenix has
I think Jazz
market.
Bucks, Jazz in the finals would be good. Not good, but it'd be something because I just think it would be I think Jazz Twitter and just Jazz slander is at not an all-time high, but it's up there where people would at least talk about it.
Yeah.
I don't know. It's not great. Well, I mean, look the 90s, the Jazz, I don't get it because the Jazz locally are known for having, whether this is a good thing or a bad thing, sold out crowds, very passionate fans.
Yeah.
I don't know. It's a tough look if he loses the Clippers, the Lakers, LeBron, Kawhi, say Giannis goes out next round, say the Nets lose and you lose those 3 guys. It's tough. I said the same thing when it was Raptors Warriors a couple of years ago. It's I feel like people like to shit on dynasties until they realize what the alternative is. I'll admit Cavs Warriors was getting old, but I would have definitely taken another matchup like that over Warriors, Raptors, an injured Warriors, Raptors.
I think the tough thing for us is the fact that you kind of discount the fact that Toronto had an entire country of basketball fans.
No, Toronto's fan base is nuts. And Drake.
So I mean,
they had a country and Drake.
Yeah. So I mean,
tough look.
Two countries.
Two countries.
I would say if the Raptors were an American team and that was the same kind of thing, sure, I agree with you. But the fact that they were in Canada and there's no one else in Canada anymore, they were going to have a huge outpouring for that one just based on that.
Yeah, I guess you're right.
I mean, don't get me wrong. I also agree with the fact that I didn't want that to be the finals at all in the slightest bit, because that was just not an exciting finals as far as the teams being hurt. And
well, I mean, now that I think about it, I forgot LeBron was in LA that year. That was the year he got hurt. Like, who else would go from the East? Who was a better option? Really, I don't think it really mattered. Giannis maybe would be a little marketable, right?
Yeah.
Kyrie was hurt too.
Yeah, because I mean, if you don't,
that was the year that the Celtics were the favorites to make it out of the East.
Yeah.
I remember those days.
I mean, yeah, I mean, I would say Boston would have had the biggest outpouring for any of those fan bases to show up in the finals, and it would have been at least a more interesting storyline. I mean, they were hype enough in their meetings with Durant to say, like, hey, we know how to defend Golden State. Here's James Crowder and Kelly Olynyk to tell you the game plan.
We brought the big guns, Kevin.
Dude,
know,
how the fuck is that your pitch to Kevin Durant?
Those are the three biggest athletes in Boston at the time: Tom Brady, Kelly Olynyk, and Jay Crowder.
They didn't even make the team after that point.
No, fair point. Very fair point. Now, Kevin, we know you have experience with one Russell Westbrook, James Harden. Have you met Kelly Olynyk and Jay Crowder? Have you seen Jay Crowder's cool hair? And Kelly Olynyk's cool hair, for that matter.
I don't know if you have League Pass, but we got some superstars over here as well, Mr. Durant.
I'm going to go to California.
I'm going to go literally anywhere else.
I'm going to go invest in like some weird tech company in California and like get filthy rich and win 2 rings.
Yeah. It
is weird that Kevin Durant is doing what he's doing after a pretty gruesome injury.
Yeah.
Like Kevin, what was the game? I think it was game 3, maybe, when like they all just went off. Like KD had 40, Kyrie had 40, and Harden had like 30 with 100 assists. I don't know. Like there's times when Kevin Durant brings up the basketball and it's like, there's nothing you can do about this. Like this freakishly tall person is going to shoot 70% from 3, and there's nothing you can do about it. And if he's covered, he's going to pass to James Harden.
Or Kyrie, or both of them are shooting 40% from 3.
Worst case scenario is a wide open Joe Harris 3-pointer. Like what are you supposed to do?
The times that Blake Griffin had the ball.
And you have Blake Griffin on the team.
I couldn't have been more excited because I'm like, at least there's a chance there's a miss. Like there's a chance. That's it.
Imagine a world where Blake Griffin and DeAndre Jordan are your bums on the team.
Dude, can you imagine if 10 years ago we were talking about Blake Griffin and DeAndre Jordan being bums on a squad?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, DeAndre barely even plays.
Yeah, I don't even know if did he dress?
I think
I don't remember hearing his name.
I don't remember him being naked, so I assumed he dressed, but I don't know if he wore like street clothes or a uniform.
I know
I know Claxton was playing a lot, but
honest to Christ, their coach could play. Steve Nash should get minutes on the Nets like if they needed.
Dude, he'd be hitting.
He could facilitate
threes.
He wouldn't even have to hit threes. He could just facilitate to the other 3.
I have a question for you, Lahey. We talked about this a while ago, kind of unexpected. Who do you think's the best? Like, if a coach were to play today, like who's the best player coach right now? Would it be Steve Nash?
Can you go assistant coaches?
I guess. Why, Jason Kidd?
Tim Duncan.
Tim Duncan. Is he actually coaching? Is he a coach on the Spurs?
He's an assistant coach for the Spurs.
No, I didn't know that.
Yeah, he's behind Becky Hammond. So I would pick him because, again, his game wasn't on speed. It wasn't on athleticism.
That's true. So, how old is Tim Duncan now? Like mid-40s? At least 40.
I would say early 40s. Probably like 42, 43.
So the reason I ask is because he played his entire career like he was in his mid-40s. So really nothing changed.
He was 19 and played like he was 42.
He was 19 going on 40. And now he's just 40. So.
Yeah. I mean, if we're not doing assistant coaches, then I would say Nash for sure. But
yeah, that's fair. There's some baller assistant coaches. That's a good point. There's definitely assistant coaches who get minutes on like the Magic or like the Cavs or something. Okay, I'm just actually going to go through our notes now. So we touched the Celtics.
Oh, we're going to start the notes 45 minutes.
Yeah, we're going to start the episode. So, welcome back. Episode 113 of the More Score Podcast. Brian Lahey's with us. So are we all in agreement? Favorites out of the East? Nets or Bucks? Winner of the series?
I mean, I'm going to go Nets.
You mentioned Ben Simmons before we start recording. Ben Simmons wants none of this smoke. Neither does
I can tell you right now, Ben Simmons, I think, is the most overrated player in the NBA without fail. I mean, he can't shoot. He can't even do.
Well, not counting Donovan Mitchell. Yeah, Ben Simmons for sure.
Oh, you can eat a dick.
Now we'll get to that later. Yeah, Ben Simmons. I don't know. I feel like I've inadvertently like defended Ben Simmons for a while because I think there's a difference between overrated and like you stink. Like Ben Simmons doesn't stink. Like he's a good player.
No, he's a good player.
Yeah, he's a top. It's a very top-heavy competitive point guard league right now. He's definitely not top 5. Is he top 10?
I think honestly, in an offensive-minded NBA, no, because he's
not
defensive.
Offensive-minded, he's like Cam Newton. Like he's a good player, but he's bottom 5 in the league.
But that's what I mean is like his offense drags him down so much because his only value and asset is the fact that he's good defensively. Which he should be. He's 6'10" playing point guard.
That can't be a good look. Like your best asset is giving the ball to somebody else.
I don't want this.
I don't know. I shouldn't be here.
I'm going to tell you right now, if someone like Thaddeus Young thought of playing point guard like a decade and a half ago, he would have. That's what the NBA is right now. Simmons. Like that's all it is. And Thaddeus Young could shoot better than Ben Simmons.
Yeah.
Like
imagine someone from like the 70s playing the Lakers, seeing LeBron pregame, like, wow, their center looks good. He's going to be tough. And then just like, holy shit, this guy's bringing the ball. That's the point guard. What's happening right now? Yeah, it's tough.
That reminds me of the point guard thing that Sophie sent us.
Yeah, that's what that's exactly the graphic I was thinking. So I might have screenshotted it. Hold on.
Can we agree that like people like James Harden, albeit that they're great at facilitating, he's not a point guard. He's always been a 2 guard.
Yeah, I don't know where that even started. What do you think, Soap? I mean, is he like on a bench on a box score? Is he listed as a PG?
Usually.
He is? Really?
Well, maybe not this year with Kyrie, but like all the years in Houston.
In Houston? So what was Chris Paul
and
like
an MVP candidate? He was a point guard.
I mean, it's got to be. He's got to be before Chris Paul and Westbrook got there. He was.
There was other people there
because there was no one worthwhile.
Chris Paul and Russell Westbrook are point guards. For sure. So either you literally list them as 2 point guards, which is I'm sure fine, or I don't know. But I mean, I don't know. I just found it. I always thought of James Harden as a shooting guard. The other one is Dame. I know Dame is a point guard and he brings the ball up, but Dame is bodied like a shooting guard.
No, he's like 6'1", 6'2". He's smaller. Okay. I think the big thing is that Dame also.
It's because he scores a lot. I guess you can make the same argument for Harden.
6 to 8 assists a game. So I mean,
Steph. Yeah, exactly. I just don't think we're used to point guards.
If you really want to make the argument, you could say that they're not really point guards.
So
because they score a lot.
But this is the argument that I have for that is that to a certain point, it has to come down to defensively. Who are you covering when you're on the floor?
Yeah, I agree.
James Harden is not covering defensively the point guard most of the time.
Like
Dame is always covering Steph. Steph's always covering Dame. They're both point guards. Hey, Westbrook will cover whoever the best offensive player is, but usually he's covering the point guard. So that's kind of where, to me, you got to look at both sides of the ball to see who's actually a point guard and who's just doing it because the team sucks and they don't have an actual point guard.
I don't think any of these guys are point guards. Luka's in here. I know Luka brings the ball up, but Luka's a shooting guard.
Yeah,
LeBron's not in this graphic.
Yeah, that was the other point that I made.
Is Ja a point guard?
Yeah, Ja's a point guard.
I'm trying to think of a legit. Honestly, like I think Ben Simmons.
Point guards really don't exist anymore.
I think that's the asterisk. Like I think Ben Simmons is probably the closest thing to an actual point guard.
Yeah,
maybe Chris Paul,
which is ironic for how this conversation started.
He's certainly not a shooting guard, so by default he has to be a point guard.
Ben Simmons,
but he can also play power forward.
He's a power forward.
So I think
move quick.
Yeah, I think the point is like the NBA is just positionless basketball now because LeBron could bring the ball up, and then on the other end he can cover Joel Embiid. Like it's just silly. Kyrie's a point guard. LaMelo's a point guard. Kemba's a point guard. Not that he made this graphic, but Kemba's
he shouldn't. He shouldn't even be in the conversation.
De'Aaron Fox is in this graphic.
That said you needed to have 2 good knees to make this graphic.
De'Aaron Fox is a point guard.
For sure.
Jamal Murray's a point guard. Yeah, Steph. Well, it's Harden and Kyrie are both in this graphic. So, fuck, what are we doing here?
Yeah.
I think the biggest thing is
very guard heavy.
There isn't there's really no pass first point guards anymore.
No, but I still think you can be a scoring first point guard and still be a point guard. Like if you look at a Steph or a Dame, they're clearly scoring first, but they can also facilitate and set up other players. Whereas, I look at that plus who they're playing on defense, and that's kind of in my mind who dictates being point guard.
Yeah, Trae Young's in this graphic too.
Yeah.
What position is Donovan Mitchell listed at? Shooting guard?
So early on in his career, he was a shooting guard, but lately he's been point guard. Like the past 2 years.
He's not in this graphic, right?
No, travesty.
Drew Holiday is. Eesh.
But honestly, I feel like Mitchell right now is being forced more into a point guard role when he should be more of a shooting guard. Kind of like Iverson back in the day was not a point guard, but he was sized up to be a point guard. I think Mitchell kind of falls into that mold.
Iverson's a great example. He was just, I think Iverson's career could just be summed up in just way ahead of his time.
Yeah.
Like he had no business playing in that generation. I mean, he was covering fucking Ty Lue, and you saw what happened.
I think the weird thing is that Iverson today would have to play a very different game than what he was known for because he was quick to the basket, great cuts, great in the mid-range. Mid-range doesn't really exist anymore.
No, it doesn't. Analytically, it doesn't make sense.
So it definitely would have affected how he played his game. Like those screens would have had to been wider for him to be at the 3-point line instead of being at the key. You know what I mean? So,
damn, LaMelo Ball's in this graphic. Interesting. I don't know. Ben Simmons is top 10. Like I don't know. Like I think we can all agree real quick. Better than Ben Simmons from this graphic. Harden, Curry, Kyrie, Dame, Luka. Chris Paul?
Yeah.
Russ?
Yeah.
Who did
I know Russ isn't
Ja? What about Ja? Ja's comparable, I think.
I
really?
think Ja's
much better
than Simmons. Yeah.
Trey?
Yeah.
De'Aaron Fox?
Yeah.
The only one left is LaMelo Ball and Drew Holiday.
Yes. Honestly, coin toss for Drew Holiday.
Okay, thanks.
Realistically.
Boy, that's a tough look.
Yeah, because Drew Holiday is just as good on defense.
Yeah. I'm going to say something aggressive.
Plays offense.
There's got to be a point guard not on this list who's better than Ben Simmons.
I mean,
listen, this is going to sound homer. I know Kemba is not as good as Ben Simmons, but is he that much worse than Ben Simmons?
Honestly,
when's the last time Ben Simmons scored 30?
I would coin toss that one too.
If both are healthy, I would coin toss that.
Okay.
Yeah. Okay. Realistically, because I mean, again, Simmons isn't. He's a deterrent on offense. He is literally a negative on offense. When he's sitting there yelling that he should be defensive player of the year and all that stuff, it's like, cool. You need to score more than 10 points a game. So in that way, when you're holding Kyrie to 30, you're not so much of a negative on the floor.
Isn't Anthony Edwards a point guard?
No.
Shooting guard?
He's a 2. A lot of times he's been playing 3 though. Because Timberwolves are weird because they had Beasley at the 2 guard as well. Michael Beasley.
Yeah.
I think that roster really changes if
I think that's the benchmark. I think I would argue Ben Simmons is better than Michael Beasley. And that's it. That's a good one. No, I'm thinking Michael. No, I'm talking strictly Michael Beasley.
I wish it was Michael Beasley.
That's fair.
Michael Beasley's not still currently employed by the Minnesota Timberwolves. He doesn't like work per diem for the Knicks and the Timberwolves throughout the year.
I don't know, the HR department.
Honestly,
I assume he specializes.
Honestly, this is similar to the Kemba argument. Derrick Rose plays point guard, and I've seen a lot more Derrick Rose highlights this year than Ben Simmons highlights. Did Ben Simmons make the All-Star team this year?
I'm guessing he did, yeah.
See, that sucks. That can't be right, because there's definitely players in that graphic who didn't make it, who we just said are better than Ben Simmons. We talked about this when we were talking about Defensive Player of the Year. I think there's players who get like grandfathered into being known as just good defensive players.
Yeah. Like, I mean, like Draymond and Dort wasn't on that list at any point.
Absolutely. That's what I mean. I think Ben Simmons
last playoffs, when he was doing what he could to shut down Harden and limiting Harden to like 22 to 25, but having Harden shoot 40 shots a game. Yeah. That's the best you can do on defense in that scenario. Is force the stars to take a volume of shots as opposed to being efficient.
Yeah, I agree. I just
wasn't mentioned all season.
Yeah, like I think there's players who are just grandfathered into this. Just like, this is a good player. Like Ben Simmons is a good player, and he is a good player. Yeah. But there's also players who people aren't talking about who are probably better.
Like I don't know how
no one talks about De'Aaron Fox. I think we all agree De'Aaron Fox is a better point guard than Ben Simmons.
Absolutely.
He's never.
I would take him 10 times out of 10.
Yeah.
Ben Simmons is tall Rondo and not as good of a passer.
Oh boy. Yikes.
But even Rondo figured out how to shoot eventually.
True.
I mean, he's not
that's a very good point.
He at least focused on it.
I think
he tried.
No. I think people talk about Ben Simmons as being a bad shooter, which is true, but it's also a step lower than that. Ben Simmons just doesn't shoot. Like he can't shoot. He can't attempt a shot.
Yeah.
That maybe if this was like 1983, like he would be serviceable, but you can't do that anymore. I don't know. And plus, it probably doesn't help you have big ass Joel Embiid like just clogging up everything. I am kind of surprised that hasn't been broken up yet.
I think this is the year. Honestly, God.
Is one of them free?
I don't think they're free, but I think this
you
is
make a move.
if they don't, if they don't make it with Harris, Embiid, and Simmons, they make a move. And unfortunately, I think Harris is the one that moves, and I feel like that's unfair because
didn't he get the biggest money though? He just signed a big contract, didn't he?
He signed a big contract, but he's very versatile. You know what I mean? Like he plays the 3 or the 4. He can score. He's not a liability on defense. Not that he's a superstar defense, but he probably nets even if not positive as far as being on the floor, where Simmons honestly nets negative. I don't know why you don't move Simmons. Honestly, God.
Who's the rookie? They have Tybal.
Yeah. Tyball's not a rookie, but he's been.
I know. I didn't mean a rookie. Just
great defender, but yeah.
I remember Harris was the one that turned down like 4 for 80, and people were like, "Oh, you're an idiot." And then the next year got 5 for like 180.
Yeah, big money. Yeah. Great business.
Decent investment in himself.
The other weird thing about Philly is like Jimmy Butler just quietly was on the 76ers.
Yeah.
And he's wearing like Leonardo headbands. And then they said, we don't want this in our company.
Can we talk about the fact that at one point there was a trade of Jimmy Butler and Richardson as if that was even close to an even swap? And people were like, "Oh yeah, Richardson's so great defensively."
The NBA is mad weird.
What fucking world do you live in where Jimmy Butler and Richardson could be moved for each other and it's somewhat even? Like, what are we talking about here?
Not too long ago, some would argue what kept James Harden from going to Miami was parting ways with Tyler Hero. Like, NBA is just weird. Like Boston too. Boston's probably the worst. Like Danny Ainge, I don't want to get too into the Celtics craziness. We'll do that some other time. But like, if you look at, and like, it's public, like there's almost like an actual list of like the players Danny Ainge almost traded for. And it's like the most ridiculous
Hall of Famers
standing in the world.
Yeah.
Oh, an absolute like Monstars type of team of like an almost acquired Danny Ainge team. Think about it. It'd be what? It'd be Kawhi, AD.
Yeah.
Who'd we just say?
Jimmy Butler,
James Harden,
Paul George.
Like just so many times where he just wouldn't pull the trigger for some oddball.
I'm not ready to part ways with Marcus Smart. Yeah,
exactly.
I'm not ready to part ways with the Brooklyn Nets 2027 third round pick. Can't do it.
How many drafts in a row were you sitting there going, okay, this is the year where they're going to move one of their 17 picks and actually get a viable player? Before you were just like, this is never going to happen. They just have a plethora of picks that they're going to draft people and not use.
Well, that's the thing. Like, that's all shadowed by the fact that he took Tatum and Brown. That covers everything. Because after that, nothing else matters.
Yeah.
What you don't see is you can still draft Jayson Tatum third and trade a couple years worth of, like, look at the Thunder. We talked about this before. Thunder have, I think, quite literally like 20 picks, like 20 first round picks in the next 5 years. What they do with that, I don't know. And it cost you what? Shea, Russ, and Chris Paul.
Well, Thunder still have Shea. They still have Shea. So, I mean, they still have their young guard.
Oh, yeah, I'm sorry. I'm sorry. So it cost them then what? Russ was a big picks trade.
Yeah.
Paul George.
Steven Adams. I
assume, was Melo just cut? I assume. Trying to think of like his names. Melo.
I think he was traded to Houston for like a turkey club sandwich. I don't think they got much out of that deal.
Yeah.
No mayo.
That was the issue.
Oh, OJ Mayo.
That's the real travesty. Dude, can we talk about OJ Mayo? The fact that he's been banned from the league and hasn't come back yet over weed, which is like legal everywhere.
Dude, I thought that it ended up being far worse than weed, though.
I didn't read anything far worse. I could have missed a story or two, but
maybe.
I mean, Tyreek Evans is the one that just cleared because of weed.
That's what I was going to bring up. Yeah.
Like
Tyreek Pablo Escobar Evans.
It's like at a certain point as Adam Silver, you just go like, hey guys, I think you can come back now. It's kind of legal halfway through the country.
Smoke a little less weed, but yeah, you can come back. Let's do this. I there are some things I don't want to miss on. Talked about current NBA. The West is a shit show. I think East we have figured out. We'll find out a lot, honestly, over the next 2 days. Yeah. Because if Phoenix and Dallas wins, then it's officially a shit show out West.
Yeah.
Let's get into the players with another skill set graphic. That's what I really wanted to get into today.
Dude, I love this graphic.
I hate it more than life.
I love it because of the fact that it literally makes no sense. Why would Jokic why would you want him to dunk like Vince Carter? How does that make him any better?
So, Soapy, do me a favor. I think this might warrant like the thumbnail for the YouTube video. Does that make sense maybe? Or at least put it in the show notes? Okay. I've seen these. I'm sure we've all seen them, but I feel like this is the one we've really talked about. We often talk about, I know Lahey, you send these a lot, like you have like a budget to like draft your team, right? Those are fun. Timeless.
I love them.
You've seen these before, right? Like this player with this skill set. Yeah. But this one is so offensive for so many reasons. So if you're not familiar, I'm trying to describe it verbally. It's the one with like, for example, Kevin Durant with Karl Malone's strength.
It takes like the 15 or so best players in the league, and it adds a hypothetical strength from another player to each player and says which one would be the best resulting player. And these strengths are so fucking random.
Weird. They are. So I'm trying to think. I know we talked about, I think the most egregious ones. First of all, the most egregious player on the list. Why is Kemba Walker here? I genuinely don't agree.
Yeah, he should not be on this list.
Here's a great example to kick us off. Kemba Walker with Steve Nash's efficiency. I honestly, I don't even know what that means. Like, did Steve Nash casually shoot 90% from the field and just no one bothered to know?
So Steve Nash was one of the early people, I think, that did the 50-40-90.
Yeah, okay. Okay.
So at least I get that, but I don't think that makes Kemba that much better.
No, it doesn't, because Kemba's not that drastically far off from any of those categories.
I have an example. Replace Kemba Walker with Ben Simmons. Ben Simmons with Steve Nash's efficiency. That's a good offensive player.
Well, here's the thing. If we're saying that, are we assuming that Ben Simmons shoots, or does he just drive to the hoop and that's it?
Oh, good point. Very good point. Because, okay, great. You're shooting 60% from the field, but you shoot 3 times a game.
Yeah. Like
from 2 feet away.
Yeah. Because, like, if you were to go.
Good point.
This is what I would do. If you had Simmons on there, give him someone like Steph's shooting ability. Sure. You know what I mean? Because then it's just like, okay, now he can actually hit something from away from the hoop.
So another way to look at this, obviously they're highlighting a strength of the featured player and a weakness. So Ben Simmons' strength, I think we would argue, is what? Defending all positions, good passer. So it's basically Ben Simmons being able to shoot. It'd be like Ben Simmons with Reggie Miller's like 3-point shooting or something like that.
That'd
be a great player.
Yeah.
Also known as Kevin Durant. But anyway, that'd be a great player.
Yeah, the Giannis one is the one that makes the most sense, I think.
I would agree.
Yeah, Dirk shooting for sure. Yeah.
Giannis Antetokounmpo. Basically, you're saying Giannis can now shoot threes at a high clip. Yes, that's a terrifying matchup.
Yeah. Or even that mid-range that Dirk had with the fadeaway.
Sure.
Like that would change a lot for him.
Or Dirk's hair. Arguably, Giannis with Dirk's hair is a much cooler player.
I would take that.
Ooh, and also he's German instead of Greek.
Now we're
German freak.
Now we're floating on international waters, so I don't want to get too into this.
So the one that made
the United Nations pre-app over here.
The one that made the least amount of sense. I'm torn between three of them.
Okay.
Steph.
That's not a good start.
Steph with Rodman's rebounding makes zero sense to me. Doesn't why do you need Steph to rebound that much? I don't understand. Jokic.
No, it's a fun experiment. I just thought of this. Flip him around. So you have an all-time elite shooter who, for the majority of his career, rightfully so, lives behind the three-point arc. But this guy also has an elite rebounding skill set, which is never going to be utilized.
He's never near the hoop. Like, when is this
That'd
happening?
Be like, and you flip it. Okay, Dennis Rodman, I want you to post up fucking Greg Ostertag and Karl Malone. Oh, by the way, if you wanted to, you can shoot 60% from three anytime.
You're fully capable of this. So yeah, that one made no sense to me.
I agree.
Jokic being able to dunk like Vince Carter. I don't get what you came there. I don't.
Yeah. I'm gonna bookmark that one.
Yeah, like if you're just like you make Jokic more athletic, like he can get to the 3-point line in less than 10 seconds. Sure, I'm all on board.
Correct. Yep.
Dame with magic leadership.
That's offensive.
He literally just won an award for his leadership on and off the court.
I think they mean magical.
Oh, I didn't think about that. Yeah.
I think they want him to be an actual magician.
Dame Lillard with Mickey Mouse's character from Fantasia would be a great player.
Dude, and he plays in Orlando. I don't know.
The Jokic one is interesting because Carter dunking, I thought about this too. Of course, Vince Carter's tough too because he has such a prolonged career. Let's focus on his prime. So let's go Toronto in a few years in New Jersey. Vince Carter's dunking, fine. But so we're basically taking Nikola Jokic, who's already a great player, and we're giving him maybe a handful of highlight dunks a year. Does that make him that better of a play? It's not like Vince Carter's, I'll put it this way. Vince Carter's dunking skill set, I don't think made him like a better player. It was just when he dunked, it was like a highlight reel dunk. Most of them are in the open transition court or in a regulated slam dunk contest in the All-Star.
I mean,
people forget that those are still only worth 2 points.
Yeah. Like at best you can argue cutting to the hoop. How often is Jokic cutting to the hoop? Am I missing something? At best, he's doing a pick and roll, and he's not going to get a highlight dunk out of that.
I just thought of another good one. If you saw this, Anthony Davis with CP3's handles is more or less the same as the Stephen Rodman thing. How often
is he using it? A 7-footer.
Anthony Davis is going to post up Joel Embiid and do like a weird through the legs like dribble move. Doesn't make any sense. I don't know.
Look at that spin move for him to just do what he was doing anyways. Great.
No, I agree.
I have one for the
Go ahead.
I was just going to say for the Jokic Vince Carter thing. Also, so yeah, still worth 2 points regardless, no matter how fancy it looks. But also, Jokic doesn't need to have his dunking ability because it's actually easier for a 7'2" guy to dunk than Vince Carter.
Yeah.
Vince Carter has to like make some crazy moves to get to the hoop. Jokic just has to turn around and fucking raise his hand, and it's a dunk.
It made no sense. Again,
unless they want him hanging with his arm through the rim or something.
He doesn't get him more points. It's not like they're like, oh, style points. There's an extra 6 points on the scoreboard. Like, it just didn't make sense. It made sense if you did athleticism because then he's moving faster. He can jump higher. I don't know why he needs to jump higher, but he can realistically be better defensively in that regard.
Yeah,
because there was that playoff series last year where they lost because he couldn't defend on the pick and roll. Absolutely.
Right.
That would make sense.
Right.
Dunking doesn't make sense.
Sure doesn't. It's like, okay, you're 7 feet, but you'd be better if you could, jump another 2 feet.
Oh, okay.
Now, actually, to that point, I think that further strengthens the argument for Giannis with Dirk shooting. That turns 2-point shots into 3-point shots.
Yeah. Or even some of those times where he can't get to the rim itself. It's not an immediate shot and miss. He at least can go to that fade away and actually get a decent shot out of it.
Yeah. So my big takeaway was I think this is stupid. But also I think it's just it's basically just taking shots at these players. Like you mentioned Dame Lillard. Dame Lillard plus Magic leadership is basically you saying, well, Dame Lillard's a great player, but he's a bad leader. I don't think, and again, if that was like a big narrative, maybe, but that's not a who the hell, like, that's not a known narrative.
The only person that I could think that might be a narrative for would be someone like
Paul George.
Yeah, but I was gonna say like Carmelo when he was in New York,
right?
Because like that team underperformed every year. You know what I mean? So I could see if you could try and justify it like that, but even then, I think that's a stretch.
No, I agree. Like the other one here is maybe like
Cat.
I was gonna say maybe contending with Kemba. I don't know if Cat belongs on this list, but Karl Anthony Towns with Kobe's mentality. That's basically a nice way to say like Karl Anthony Towns is a pussy. Yeah. He'd be a much better player if he wasn't a pussy, which Kobe wasn't. So it's
another one that makes no sense. I think we mentioned this in the chat when we were texting, but we didn't actually say it yet. Joel Embiid with John Wall speed.
Yeah, why?
I mean, it'd be
That's
cool.
very similar to the Anthony Davis one. Yeah, it's like, why? I don't need to be fast.
Yeah,
I'm 7 feet tall and I'm freakishly strong. Yeah,
and all he needs is like a healthy fucking skeleton. Like, he needs LeBron's durability. Like, that's what they should have given him.
Yeah, I'm matched up with PJ Tucker. I don't need John Wall's speed. Like, I'm good here. I can win this matchup. And then the other egregious one is Russell Westbrook with Tim Duncan's IQ.
Oh yeah,
not a shot on Tim Duncan, but that's a different angle to say I think Russell Westbrook is dumb.
Did I miss that? I get he's not a consistent shooter. I don't think he takes bad shots. I just think he's not a consistent shooter. Again, that's one of those ones where it's like just pick someone with good shooting ability.
No, I don't think Russell Westbrook's arguably had or accidentally had more triple doubles than, let me check the list here, everyone ever in the history of all
basketball. Of the NBA players.
Boy, is that guy stupid. If only he was a little. If only he was a little. If he hit the books a little harder back at UCLA, he'd be such a better player. So yeah, I don't know. I hate these things. I hate them and I like them because they make good conversation, and I hate the people who make them. Because say we like took, I don't know, a couple hours and made an actual list, like, real life, real good examples. It wouldn't get anywhere because people would be, oh, that's a great list.
Yeah. Oh,
the reason these trend is because people quote tweet it and say, yo, this fucking blows. Like,
all of this sucks.
Yeah. That's just the internet. So I don't know. We'll put it in the show notes if you haven't seen it, but any on your end, Soapy, that you saw? I think we hit on all of them actually.
I think a funny one to imagine, because I don't know that it makes him better. I think Paul George with Rondo's passing is so random.
Missed that one entirely.
I don't know why Paul George is on this list to begin with again, but
I don't think Paul George, I don't think it's his lack of passing that makes him not the best player. No, I think it's the fact that he's Paul fucking George.
I think his biggest issue is his fucking attitude. I honestly don't think that's his biggest issue, because the guy's talented and he's got length and size and athleticism. It's just like when you lose a game and you go, oh yeah, Dame took a bad shot. It's like, well, dude, Dame's been able to hit from the logo for 3 fucking years. Maybe do some research and realize you have to cover him crossing half court. Like, that's just basic basketball.
I mean, if it was Magic Johnson, I'm sure he'd have a hand right in his face at all times.
I don't know. If Dame had Magic Johnson's leadership, he probably wouldn't take that shot.
I'm confused too, because I assume like the skill set they put with a player means like we're taking the best player at that skill set. Is wrong. Like if it's basically saying, hey, if Paul George was an elite passer, he'd be a great player. Rajon Rondo's the example like we're using here.
I mean, first of all, you would pick Stockton because the next person for assists has half the amount. I would even settle if you went Jayson Kidd or Jason Williams. He has some flashy passes and everything like that. But realistically, Rondo drove me nuts, especially in the peak of the Celtics when he would drive to the hoop and then kick it out last minute when he had a layup. It's just like, what are you doing? Like, that doesn't make Paul George better. He goes up for a dunk and just goes like, psych. Like, that's not better for him.
Paul George would get roasted if he was Rajon Rondo's passing.
Yeah, Rondo starts to lay it up with one hand, but then like rips it off the rim with the other just to pass
just bounces it off the backboard to Ray Allen.
But honestly, how many times did we see Rondo go frequently. Up and you're like, oh, finger roll? That's every time.
I have a hot take.
Start the set over.
Yeah.
Go ahead.
Who would you take? Because I know who I took. Who would you take in their prime for the Celtics? Prime Rondo over prime Marcus Smart?
Rondo.
Come on. Yeah, definitely Rondo.
Okay.
Sometimes
I just want to ask because like years ago when it wasn't that popular to like everyone was fucking bagging on Rondo for being whatever, a shit teammate.
Well, when is prime Rondo?
Huh?
I would say
when are you thinking prime Rondo? After the big three or during the big three?
Big three. I think he was still prime Rondo once he like. Let's see, definitely the big three. I would argue. I think Rondo was Rondo when it was just him, like for a couple of years. That's when he got all his stats. Like during 2008, he was a facilitator.
Yeah.
So the reason I ask is I put it this way. Like if you flip-flop Marcus Smart and Rajon Rondo in 2008, that's not a better team. No chance.
They're a worse team.
Rondo's the perfect point guard for that team.
And I feel like maybe this is my old school point guard mentality, but I feel like Rondo, when you were talking about that run with the big three, he fit perfectly. But even if you replaced any of those big three with another star, he would have fit with whoever you brought in as a star. Like,
I think so.
He was a great defender and he was great at getting other people to get open shots. It just drove me nuts that he wouldn't take layups in any way, shape, or form.
Not a fan.
I think the biggest thing was when I was having this argument with a few people like years ago, like 2015, 16, when Rondo had just left. So that was like at his lowest point in terms of reputation among Boston people. People were saying that his offensive deficiencies were what made him worse than what prime Marcus Smart was going to be. And like clearly we've seen deficient Rondo on offense. I think it's still better than deficient Marcus Smart, because at least Rondo does the Ben Simmons thing and knows not to shoot.
Yeah, I mean,
Marcus Smart shoots when he tells you not to.
Yeah,
or when you tell him
he throws up air balls constantly. He has more turnovers, I would assume. I'm not going to look at the numbers, but I would assume he has more turnovers than Rondo. And you're talking about Rondo was handling the ball way more than Marcus Smart was. I think if you actually put it apples to apples, you would have to give Marcus Smart way more handles than what he has right now, and you would see way more turnovers. And just from that alone, you're getting an offensive negative, let alone that Smart can sometimes catch fire from three and hit 3 in a row, and then he'll miss the next fucking 10. You know, it doesn't make sense at that point at all in any way. I think people still
Ben Simmons is better than Marcus Smart, correct?
Yes,
I'd say yeah. Okay. I think people confuse hustle for defense, and I know we've had this conversation before. Marcus Smart is a fantastic hustle player. He gives the effort every game. I'm not going to knock that in any sense. But people confuse the effort and defense because someone like Tony Allen had both and is one of the best perimeter defenders of all time without fail.
Yeah.
But people look at what he would do and look at like Marcus Smart diving for a ball and being like, oh, that's the same, when they neglect the fact that Tony Allen shot like 3 times a game because he knew he sucked on offense, and Marcus Smart shoots 15 times a game.
Right. I would argue Marcus Smart already played with a better defensive player at the same position in Avery Bradley.
Yeah, sure. I'd agree.
Avery Bradley is definitely better than Marcus Smart.
I'd agree.
Better on defense and offense.
Yeah, because again, stayed in his wheelhouse, didn't go out of the realms of what he had to do offensively, didn't try and throw up 7 or 8 threes a game.
Yeah,
like he just did what he knew he was capable of.
Got you. There are a couple things I want to hit on while we have Brian. I'm trying to think which one.
By the way, the Blazers are tipping off here. Brian and I talked about this at 5:00 on the West Coast on a Thursday.
Yeah, it doesn't make any sense. Rush hour traffic. Let's get this game
actually, so this was scheduled an 8 p.m. tip off, correct?
Yeah.
Okay, it's 8:17. NBA tip off schedules is absurd, right? I have no idea what time games start.
I think the tough part is right now is, like we were saying before we jumped on.
Yeah.
Where the only playoff series, the only playoff series that are still going are the West Coast.
Good point.
There's no way to.
I know. I was curious how they're going to schedule tonight, actually, because it's Blazers, Nuggets, and the Lakers game, right? That's it.
And then tomorrow night, I think it's Clippers, Mavs, and is that it tomorrow? Or
Jazz are done, Nets are done, Sixers are done.
I'm so
Bucks
bummed that Memphis didn't put up more of a fight.
I know, me too.
Really wanted them to go further.
Me too. But yeah, no, whatever. Sucks for Portland locals, I guess. Actually, I think that's kind of dope. Like, imagine like leaving work to have like your NBA game.
Yeah, because nothing's better than listening to a basketball game on the radio.
I was gonna say, you get home at halftime.
You're gonna get home at best at halftime with fucking the traffic on those fucking highways out west. Like, oh, neat. I caught the fourth quarter of this game because I was sitting in rush hour traffic. Awesome.
We should call Nagel live on the air and see how this sounds on the radio.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, he's a Portland guy, isn't he?
Big Portland guy.
You could have told me anywhere on the West Coast, and I would have believed you. I don't know where Nagel is right now.
He was Mr. Oregon 2 years in a row.
Shoot.
Damn. Go him.
I might have to make a quick phone call. Soapy, can I pass it to you for a second?
Sure.
Okay. I'm going to pass it to Soapy. If you're listening on the audio, nothing's going to change. Nope. If you're watching, you're going to see me exit stage right for 5 minutes.
Correct.
Yeah.
And go.
All right. I'm going to take it here. I want to go to man, there's 2 good topics on here, but I want to go to the Mitchell versus Tatum thing.
Oh my God. I don't think it's fair to start with that when Morris isn't even here. That's absolutely not fair to start with that when he's walking away.
Why is it not fair? He's going to be on my side, so it's going to be even more.
I know
unfair.
He's going to be on your side, but
we're talking.
I think he should be here.
Donovan Mitchell? I'm here.
Yeah. Yeah, that was a quick phone call.
I didn't know how you're going to address that, but go ahead. Let's make this quick.
We'll make it quick. We'll just describe it as in our chat. Brian is a big Donovan Mitchell fan. Dan and I are obviously huge.
Oh, that chat is available.
Fans.
That chat is available on our Patreon page for $79.99 a month.
You just get a live. You can't participate, but you can get a live feed of it.
I mean, it's entertaining enough in its own right to just read it and watch it happen and unfold and actually participate. You don't need to participate.
No.
I don't understand this aspect to both of you because the big point that you guys tell to me doesn't make sense.
Okay.
Eye test.
Sure.
I get the eye test to a certain capacity. How do you do an eye test for someone that you haven't watched play that much? How much have you watched on him?
No, it's fine. Play? We'll go to the numbers test then.
Okay, let's go to the numbers test. So, I got it in front of me. I planned ahead for this one. In less games in his career, Donovan Mitchell has 1,000 more points scored than Jayson Tatum.
How many Eastern Conference Finals?
I mean, 0. He's not in the East.
Oh, good point.
He should have thought of that.
Damn, he was prepared for this. Well, fine, whatever. I'll mark that up to Tatum. I'll admit Tatum has 0 Western Conference Finals appearances.
I thought you meant the points front. I was like, why would you guys comment that as the points for Tatum? He's behind, considerably behind.
Points.
Yeah, and it's actually
less
Jayson
games.
Tatum has played 289 games for Jayson Tatum. Okay, for Donovan Mitchell, he has played 278 games, and Donovan Mitchell has a career 1,000 points more than Jayson Tatum.
I can see that.
I have
I would assume Mitchell has more like 40, 50 point games than Tatum.
Correct.
Does he really?
Not 50. Not 50.
I would assume
40.
I would assume he has more like 35 to 40 point games.
So this was actually surprising to me. So the game highs, in regular season game highs. So obviously Tatum has that 50. Crazy 60-point game, and he has a 41-point game in the regular season. His next high is 34 and then 27. Donovan Mitchell, on the other hand, has 4 games above 40 points. He has 41, 46, 46, 42.
Just regular season?
Just regular season. Not going to playoffs because Basketball Reference doesn't have that available in front of me right now.
Okay.
So I have a counter for the total points thing.
Go ahead.
Jayson Tatum was drafted onto a team with Kyrie, Al
Hayward,
Horford,
Kemba.
He's been on a team with Kemba. So, like, the first couple of years of his career, I feel like he was definitely relied upon less. Whereas Donovan Mitchell essentially replaced Gordon Hayward. And the
superstar Gordon Hayward.
Yes, superstar Gordon Hayward.
Living legend Gordon Hayward. Okay.
Yeah. Never injured Gordon Hayward.
That
Make
should have
been one of the skills
Gordon
that you
Hayward.
get in that graphic. Gordon Hayward's durability, because he's never been hurt.
Yeah, right.
Literally never.
Iron Man.
Like who's been the second option? Rudy Gobert, Mike Conley, Joe Ingles.
And that's the other point is when you look at the next best option for that team, are you going to go Rudy Gobert? He's not good offensively.
No, not on offense.
So,
Mike Conley,
as of late, Mike Conley, but Mike Conley only got there when John Morant got drafted.
Yeah,
so that's the last 2 years. The first 2 years, he had Joe Ingles. Jordan Clarkson maybe was there at the time. I don't even know if Jordan Clarkson was there yet.
So, I mean, okay, but fine. But to Soapy's point, I think that argues against the straight numbers. He doesn't have the volume to put up those numbers because he has to defer to not better players, but other players. Well, yeah, better players in his first 2 years.
If I'm looking at Mitchell's numbers, which I am, if the percentages were super low, then I would agree with that. The fact that the percentages aren't terrible screams to me that he was still scoring efficiently when he had no other real high-profile talent around him.
Well, I mean, I think it's similar to like what I said about Ben Simmons. I don't think Donovan Mitchell stinks. I don't think he sucks. I think him and Tatum are very comparable. They were the same draft, right?
Yes.
I always confuse him and the other one.
Yes.
Okay. Same. Yep. I think anyone in the same draft is always going to be compared. They don't play the same position on paper, but especially now, they are the go-to scorer for their respective
They're the same
team.
role. They're the same role. They're not the same position, but the same role.
Same role. Yep. Okay. Same expectations on offense, I guess is the way.
You're the star. You're the budding superstar. This is your team to lead.
I think it's close enough where I don't know what else to say. Like, I think it's close enough where I just say I think Jayson Tatum's better. Like, I like Jayson Tatum better. I think the argument is we talked about this. I think the argument is what's the countrywide consensus, and I think it's Jayson Tatum.
And I think that's unfair because you're talking about a major profile market versus an borderline irrelevant market. Utah is not a major market. No, even now they're the number one seed, and everyone was just like they're a joke. And I'm not saying they're legitimate, but everyone in the league and every fan base said that they're a joke.
They're like the Tampa Bay Rays whenever they're good.
Exactly my point. You can't
go
franchise to franchise. I thought you were going to say that.
It's
just they were in the World Series last year. I think that's how irrelevant the Rays are. That's disrespectful to the Jazz, and the Rays were in the World Series last year.
I will probably should have won. Now, this is my take on this. Who is the better player right now? Right now, I'm going Donovan Mitchell. Who's going to have a better career? Jayson Tatum, because Jayson Tatum has high percentages.
Honestly, I don't know about that, bro.
He's got the size, and when you have that shooting ability and you have that size and you have that versatility in a positionless game, you have an advantage. Whereas Donovan Mitchell, he's 6'1". You're not going to have him go cover the 3 or the 4 or the 5 like that. You're at a mismatch at that point.
So Jayson Tatum's not a better player, even though he's taller.
I don't think so. No. You're talking about Mitchell scores at a higher clip. He assists at a higher clip, right? And that's both offensively. You could argue that Tatum's a better defensive player, but I don't think it's that much better.
Defense. Dude, you can't even compare defense anymore. It doesn't.
Because it doesn't matter anymore.
I agree. Yeah, it doesn't matter. That's fine.
That's where I think if this was a conversation we were having a decade ago or 15 years ago when these players came out, I think we'd have a closer conversation because of the fact that Tatum's defense would be weighted a lot more than what it is. Right now, I mean, his defense is marginally better at best. So
who would you take in crunch time? Mitchell.
He's not banking threes.
Are you talking about literally the first game of the season?
I don't give a fuck when it was.
And I hate that
He's
shot.
not banking
Not a
threes.
fan of that at all. Yeah, okay.
I will.
I don't know. I'm curious to see. Do you think Do you think Donovan Mitchell moves?
I don't think he stays in Utah. I know he signed a big
he can't
extension.
be happy. No one can be happy.
I think it's one of those things where he stays there for the length of that supermax extension that he signed, and he moves on at the end of that agreement because of the fact that we've seen it so many times over where these players decide to play with their best friends on major market teams and get the same money or similar money. You know what I mean? Like I just don't. Yeah. I don't see Donovan Mitchell staying there, especially with everything that happened with Rudy Gobert, and the Jazz still hung on to Rudy Gobert.
Oh, Rudy Gobert had to take that bag. That if he said no to that, that's like, get the fuck out of here. That's like this joke about Chris Paul times 100.
Yeah, the thing with Rudy Gobert to me, even though he's probably a top 10 center in the league, maybe even top like 8 or something like that, center's an antiquated position, as Sophie has said 1,000 times over. Like it's cool that he's a great defender and a great rebounder. He's still an offensive liability. He's still not worth the money that they're going to pay him on that one.
I agree. Like a bigger picture way to look at it is kind of going back to the Nets. It's like defense doesn't matter because what's the best case scenario defense against a team like the Nets? 120
points. What are you going to hold? Like, you're going to hold them to 135? Right. Neat. All right.
Absolutely.
You have to also score 136 to win that game.
Yeah, I don't know. And again, like I don't dislike Donovan Mitchell. I think, well, here's the other thing. A lot of this came from that ridiculous, and I actually did read the article, which I didn't want to.
That article was a joke. And I'm a Mitchell fan. That article was a joke.
That headline is a little much, no?
I'd like to apologize to Donovan Dooley. Because that guy did not expect the internet to be on his head for this fucking article.
There's no way Donovan Dooley's a real person who wrote an article about Donovan Mitchell. No way.
Donovan Mitchell just panicking, being like, Donovan, oh crap, I already put my first name, Dooley.
Yeah. Dooley.
Yeah. Donovan Mitchell is one playoff run away.
Again and has to change it. Donovan Dooley.
One playoff run away from being the best player on the planet.
Not even close.
I feel bad because I get hit up by like that guy's friends being like, no, that's kind of funny, but this is our friend. This is the Donovan young legend Donovan Dooley. And then one guy was like, no, actually I was this guy's professor in college. This is Donovan Dooley's writing.
Dude, here's the stat I wanted on Twitter going after fucking Soapy, being like, I know this guy's writing. This is legitimate. Excuse me, sir.
I honestly, I didn't realize till now it was from Deadspin. I thought it was Bleacher Report for some reason. So this makes a lot more sense. I never thought about this stat they highlight till now. So I'm sure you saw this. Highest points per game in the playoffs by an active player, right? It's Kevin Durant, LeBron James, Anthony Davis, and then Donovan Mitchell. I think that has to be a volume thing, no? Because Donovan Mitchell last year,
that's highly affected by the bubble.
Averaged
from last
50
year.
A game? Yeah, shit.
Against the Nuggets.
What other years was he in the playoff? Has he played 2 playoff rounds?
I would think so.
I don't think so. No, I mean in 1 year. 2 playoff rounds in 1 year.
Oh, probably not.
I don't think so either.
I want to say that he made it.
Is this
his rookie season?
For the second round?
4th year?
Yeah, his rookie season, he played 2 rounds, and then this year he'll play 2 rounds. So other than that, out of 4 years, 2 of them he played 2 rounds. So
well, let's compare it to the volume of one Kevin Durant and LeBron James. Anthony Davis, I honest to God bet is probably similar to Donovan Mitchell.
Never heard of the first 2 guys, but yeah, Anthony Davis.
Anthony Davis, the most unfair thing was the fact that he was playing on the bum squad that was the Pelicans for 90% of his career.
Anthony Davis is really good. No,
he really is.
He's really good at basketball.
You're talking about basketball still?
Basketball specifically.
And also growing unibrows. Fantastic at it.
Off the charts.
Does he still have that?
Yeah.
I think that's actually a good point. He does, but it's like
not.
It's
not
really
not as
obvious. Be prettier.
He has an LA unibrow.
Yeah, he's got a Hollywood unibrow.
Oh my god, Hollywood unibrow.
All right, let's kind of roll through this right now. So we talked about that. I know you want to talk baseball, Brian, and we will. I promise.
We probably won't get that.
I wanted to start here because I don't think we've ever talked about this in the group chat. Do you know about the Tom Brenneman thing from last summer?
No.
Oh, Lahey.
Explain.
How do we do this? Are we able to do this on the show or no?
Yes. Why don't you talk through it a little bit, but don't use the exact quote.
Okay, if you're listening, Soapy's talking to his microphone, but decided to put his microphone 5 feet away from him.
Can we edit out something? I really have to piss.
Oh, please. I'll take an intermission. Let's take 5.
Give me 2 minutes.
So let's take 5 for station identification. I'm not going to edit this out. So if you're a real listener, it's going to be radio silence for a good 30 seconds. But you don't want to miss this. We're going to come back. And I can't believe Brian has never. This is so good if he's truly never heard this.
I think he's going to enjoy this.
Because I would give anything for a year later to hear someone's literal first listen of the Tom Brenneman apology.
Oh, yeah.
Is this going to get kicked off YouTube if you do it? You know what? Fuck YouTube. I don't give a shit. Let's do it. Fucking Brenneman. I'm going to take a piss, get something to drink, and then I'm going to listen to Tom Brenneman apologize for whatever Tom Brenneman says.
All right.
All right. So ahead. Again, let's go live. Since it never gets old, Tom Brenneman slur, apology, and firing.
Ball game with the Reds in front of the Royals. We go to the top half of the 5th inning. Castellanos to lead things off. Jim Day's going to be taking us the rest of the way through this game as Holland takes over on the mound. I made a comment earlier tonight that I guess went out over the air that I am deeply ashamed of. If I have hurt anyone out there, I can't tell you how much I say from the bottom of my heart. I'm so very, very sorry. I pride myself and think of myself as a man of faith. As there's a drive in a deep left field by Castellanos, it will be a home run. And so that'll make it a 4-0 ball game.
Oh, boy.
I don't know if I'm going to be putting on this headset again.
There it is.
That's the quote of the year.
I will apologize.
I say it weekly. I don't know if I'm going to be putting on this headset again.
God.
So, Brian, you being the baseball guy of the crew, put yourself in old Brenneman's shoes. You just said a highly offensive racial slur on live television. Castellanos cranks one.
I feel like you got to at least sell it. It's your last time.
You got to address the home run, no?
You got to go more than like, oh, that's deep to left. Oh, it's out of here. Like, you got to give him more effort. You're going after this point.
I mean just addressing it in general. Like, this guy was balls deep in an apology. I always
serious one.
A very serious apology. I always said this. That is about, you know, when people say like that guy is a pro's pro. Tom Brenneman he has like Reds baseball in his veins where crack of the bat. I have to address this. Castellanos puts that in the upper deck.
You have to address it more. That's why I don't agree. Okay. He has to put more emphasis on that one. It's a home run.
That's going to make it a 4-0 ball game. Isn't enough.
Not in a monotone voice. Castellanos left. That's a 4-0 ball game.
I just offended a whole fan base, but boy, is Castellanos hot on the plate. I can't believe he went inside on him.
Crushed it to left, and
4-0 Red Legs. And anyway,
here's the thing. Imagine it was pretty bad already what he said, but imagine if he did put the enthusiasm that Lahey was talking about, but it was like
slur?
into the slur. No, into the apology. Like he's monotone during the apology, then the home run happens and he gets into it. But what if instead of calling it the ag capital of the world, he had just announced like 9/11 happened? Like, you still want him showing that enthusiasm on the home run call?
Yes.
That's a tough one.
Okay.
He has one job. Yes. I guess he's fired after that moment. Position. He has one job.
Brian's like, we pay him to announce baseball, not
first of all
apologize and be.
I picture it.
Fault. It's his own fault. Let's start there. He's going to get fired for.
No. This is not a Tom. No pun intended. This is not a Tom Brenneman apology podcast.
Yeah. So
but
my point is, you got to at least sell the call while you're still doing the job. you're gonna get.
You got to go one way or the other. Okay, you can't either. You just totally disregard the call because you're in the middle of an apology, or you say, you know what? These people are paying me to do my job. Nick Castellanos put the barrel of the bat on the ball, and we have ourselves a 4-0 ball game.
Yeah,
go Red Legs.
And that was a good pitch on the outside corner. He pulled the shit out of that, and it's.
I always said I had a couple thoughts on this. I remember I said I think something that worked, not in Brenneman's favor, but I take this as an audience member. This is a fantastic clip, all-time clip, big fan. I think COVID played a good role because it's different because it's empty. Imagine this is a regular time, full crowd, bottom of the ninth.
They're going nuts.
Walk off, fireworks. And Brenneman's just like, Jesus Christ. Guys, I need to say something. The Red Legs just walked off the field.
Yeah. Imagine this in the middle of like
I'm sorry.
Imagine this in like the NLCS, and he has to sign off and this is a walk-off in the bottom of the night.
Dude, you see in the background, Nick Castellanos doing a curtain call with the crowd. And Brenneman's apologized for calling the whole city a gay slur, anti-gay slur. It's like the Fox must be like, what the fuck? How are we not just cut? What are we doing?
Somehow Brenneman's booth is like one room over from where the actual fireworks are being fired up.
Look at those fireworks tonight.
Brenneman's right arm catches a stray and he's literally on fire trying to talk through this. But I think 9/11 is a good example because it would basically be like,
a phrase often uttered.
All right, well, second, I can't believe I'm laughing. A second plane has hit the building. I don't know what we're going to do. And that's a deep drive by Castellanos. That's going to make it a 4-0 ball game. Let's remember, we're one country united today as Castellanos crosses third. Cuetos is warming up in the bullpen.
Mm-hmm.
Let's take a minute for station identification. This is red baseball.
We're getting word that there's been a potential attack on the Pentagon as well. Not sure if it's related, as we are seeing double-barreled action in the Reds bullpen. We do have a lefty coming up, but
not a great look. So you asked about cancellation at the beginning of the show. This is probably the one.
Yeah, we got it. The one. We did it.
Yeah.
I'm glad to be
anyway,
here for when you guys go
out. Valid consensus. Tom Brenneman, first ballot Hall of Famer.
Oh, absolutely.
I assume this clip goes into the Broadcasting Hall of Fame.
I would hope so.
I hope
the other better part
and removed and then cast in again. That's what I hope happens.
A great aspect of that whole scenario is, no pun intended, making the call to the bullpen. They brought in someone else to call the rest of the game. So that's a hell of a phone call to take. Like, hey, I'm going to make this short. Brenneman fucked up. Can you be here in like 30 minutes? This guy can't go another inning.
Can you imagine just being at your job and just accidentally just throwing that out there and being like, oh, I guess I'm out of a job?
Oh, boy,
are you insane?
Wish I didn't say that. Yeah, not a good one.
This is a bad idea.
But here's the thing. I like Tom Brenneman. I think Tom Brenneman has a great baseball voice.
Yeah,
I think he's great on football too.
Does he do football? Was he Fox? Football?
Yeah, he's the second guy, Joe Buck's the main guy. I think Brenneman was the second guy. And
not anymore.
That's right.
Kenny Albert.
Right. I like Kenny Albert. I can't picture Brenneman doing football.
No.
Maybe he meant to say the fart capital of the world.
What would be better? A home run, or say he's mid-apology and Brady tosses it up? That's going to be Randy Moss in the end zone, a 60-yard touchdown. That's going to make it a 28-3 ball game.
Again, you got to sell the call. I don't care what's happening. You got to sell the call.
All I know is that if I'm Tom Brenneman, when I die, I need on my tombstone, I didn't know if I was going to put this headset on again. Great call.
I also think it should be whenever the fuck he was born, 1960 to 2021, and then in parentheses 4-0 for the score of the fucking ball game.
First of all, Tom Brenneman's not 80. And second of all, yeah, that's going to be a 4-0. Do you follow NFTs at all, Lahey? I know we talk stocks sometimes.
No, I don't. I know they're a big thing that I haven't paid attention to any of them.
I have no idea how they work. I'd invest triple-digit dollars into that's going to make it a 4-0 ball game NFT. I'd like to own that and just do whatever I want.
That's going to be played for a while. Might as well get some.
I say this all the time. I'm never going to look at a 4-0 ball game the same again. Anytime I turn on a game and it's 4-0,
that's a 4-0 ball game. I don't know.
That's going to make it a 4-0 ball game.
No lie, I can't think of anything else when I hear Nick Castellanos' name.
Oh, Nick Castellanos' stock is through the roof. Speaking of stock, who's actually having a pretty good. He's a good player.
Yeah, he's a good player. So like anytime I hear his name, I think of this clip.
Although
Nick Castellanos caught a real stray in the whole Tom Brenneman thing.
I think of that moment where St. Louis and Cincy got chippy, and they were talking about he was talking about Yadier Molina. He's like, that dude would punch me in the face, and I would still ask for his autograph. And I was just like, that's crazy.
I would do the same. If I got jumped by Yadier Molina, think about it. If you got jumped by Yadier Molina, I'd at least want to walk away with an autograph.
Yeah, true. I guess.
I'm curious what like the benchmark player is where if he kicked my ass, I wouldn't care enough to ask for an autograph. It's definitely multiple rungs below Yadier Molina. Nah.
Carson Edwards.
Any Celtics player I would ask for an autograph. It's got to be like a random.
Kelly Olynyk. You going old school? I'm not taking that autograph.
I could be good without Kelly Olynyk.
I would sign something for him.
Yeah, so the police report. Yeah. Here, hang on to this. Okay, so we're on the same page with Brenneman. Yeah. Obvious GOAT.
For sure.
Outside of, some insensitive remarks.
Yeah.
Big time call. I don't know. The other thing we talked about, I don't know if you remember this, we talked about like Brenneman, eventually he's going to get I don't know. I would assume he's going to get a job in sports media again. I'd put that on top of my resume. Like, hey, what's like a time you faced adversity and how did you handle it? Well,
I'm still unemployed, but
I was in the middle of
Let me play this for you, sir.
Yeah. I think he was on a baseball video game too. Like one of the old. I do want to touch on video games real quick in like 10 minutes and we'll hop out. But I think do you assume, Lahey, you're probably the video game go-to in this group too? Is MLB The Show the best baseball video game? I heard it's very good. I've never played it.
Pretty much the only one. Okay. I think it's one of those ones where it's like Madden where they got the like license for the league.
Oh, okay.
I don't think there's really anything else.
The reason I ask is I remember I used to have Dreamcast and there used to be MLB 2K. Yeah. 2K whatever. And it was awesome. Pedro was on the cover for 1 year.
Yeah.
I think like 2K, 2, 3 at the most. It was a phenomenal game.
I had the last one, which was like, I want to say 2K10.
Baseball?
And that was fun. Yeah. It was on,
wow.
I had it on.
I had no idea.
Yeah. It was good. It was good.
Someone can fact check us, but I'm pretty sure I own 2 2K baseball games. One had Pedro. I feel like this name is too absurd for me to even make up, so it must be true. I think Troy Gloss was on the other cover.
I fucking hope so. I absolutely hope. Did our assistant hand in the Troy Gloss?
Dan's got it on paper somehow?
Yeah, I'm going over some numbers right now. Yeah, very interesting.
Tim Salmon, maybe?
It was definitely an Angels player. I don't think it was quite Tim Salmon level. It was more Troy Gloss.
It wasn't like maybe a Jim Edmonds or
no.
Oh, it's definitely David Eckstein.
No, what I want to say early 2000s MLB had a lot of franchises. They had 2K, Triple Play.
I was actually wrong.
Right?
The last one that I had for baseball was 2K13 with David Price on the cover.
Jeez Louise.
And they went on for a while.
Did they compete with the show or did the show come after?
The show was before, I think, or at least the same time, but the show obviously took over.
Right. Same argument. I mean, NBA Live versus 2K was, we used to play NBA Live and then 2K just kind of took over.
Yeah.
But yeah, those Sega Dreamcast baseball games were quite good.
Yeah, for sure.
They were really good. Troy Gloss was on a cover of a baseball game.
I don't see him on this list.
Backyard baseball.
Maybe it was Mo Vaughn. Was there an Angels player?
I'm not seeing one, man.
Maybe I just use Troy Glaus a lot. I don't know.
I'm seeing David Price. I'm seeing Verlander, Roy Halladay. I'm seeing Jose Reyes, Tim Lincecum, Pedro.
Maybe I was just thinking of my favorite third baseman who played for the Angels in the early 2000s. I don't know.
You might be. You very well might be, because I'm not seeing him anywhere.
All right. I'll give you the floor for a few minutes, Brian. Why does NBA 2K stink?
Oh my God, it's so terrible. First of all,
actually, I have an actual question to frame it, because I'm gonna sound like an old timer here. I don't know who NBA Ronnie 2K is. What is that?
So I don't know what his actual job is. I'll start there. Oh, okay. No idea what his job is. I know he is the go-to as far as 2K goes. So I remember watching a clip of him calling DeMarcus Cousins like a punk or something like that. And Cousins was pissed about that one. But the dude has something to do with the development of the game, and he's in the game unnecessarily. Like at one point in the My Player mode or whatever, I'm sitting on an airplane listening to this dude talk about weddings and shit. Like I don't even want to listen to you guys talk about weddings, let alone
I don't either.
Do that in a video game. It's so bad. And I sent you guys a clip earlier where I was playing and just like Don just loses the ball, picks it up and hits a 3/4 court shot as if it was uncontested, hand in his face, nothing but net. The game's just gotten so bad over the years. And it's just, since there's no other real basketball game to play, there's just nothing else you can do besides playing 2K and just suffer through it at this point.
Yeah. I remember like Soapy and I used to play 2K together like senior year in college, and I enjoyed it. It's a fun game. And obviously, Lahey, you and I played a lot of 2K together, but it's a great game. It's fun.
Yeah.
There's just some weird glitches in 2K. Very weird thing. I know that Kevin Durant thing has gone viral, where his penis is just like bouncing up and down on the court.
No,
that's such a good video.
It is really great. But remember when we used to play as the Celtics with Ray Allen, and he was old,
Splash.
But he wasn't that old. You would like run into him on a screen, and he would just immediately start holding his shoulder.
Yeah,
like walk to the sideline.
He was like LeBron in game like 2 against the Suns.
Yeah.
I just remember all the seasons we would do where we would just have the most ridiculous team possible. And we would all lock on a player and lose pretty much every game. Almost all of the games.
Pretty good. I remember the strategy was I'd be like, all right, like I want to at least get one cool player I can control, like LeBron or boy, I don't know. This is like 10 years ago. So fucking Dwayne Wade, Kobe, someone. And Brian would be like, all right, that's cool. Let me draft the rest of the team. All right, I'm going to go take a quick piss. I'll come back and see what we got. And then it would be a lot of white guys.
Redick.
Yeah. A lot of Europeans.
Every time.
Which is a lot of fun. Dude, I would honestly argue Madden was pretty fun too. Like I think 2K is probably the best like co-op game to play on the same team.
Yeah.
If you have 2 players, Madden is a lot of fun because it's a quarterback and a receiver.
I loved when we would do it when there would be 3 of us, because then there'd be a receiver on either side of the field.
Oh, okay, yeah.
And you would just lob it up and not care about it.
Yeah, that's fine too. Actually, co-op defense on Madden is very fun because you'd have a lineman, a linebacker, and a defensive back. And that was very fun. Yeah. I remember playing like with me, you, like Bettinger, Lucky, Matt Reed, like someone. That was so fun. And to your point, yeah, they usually stunk because like any football fan, we would probably spend the first, I don't know, 12 rounds on offense, and I'd be like, fuck, we should probably drop some defensive players.
We should probably try one defensive player.
So we'd literally win every game like 78-75.
Just nonstop, letting up touchdowns.
But 2K, I've been out of the game for a little bit. I do have 2K21 for PS4. I've played it a handful of times. I enjoy it. I get frustrated with video game rankings. I remember one episode, bro, Soapy, I think we took a deep dive into the Madden rankings, and they were maddening, no pun intended. Like, I don't know where these numbers came from.
Yeah.
NBA moves a little more like fluidly, doesn't? Like, don't NBA 2K update like every day or like every week?
They're really often, but it's just sometimes the numbers change for legitimately no reasons.
That's where Ronnie 2K comes in.
Yeah, that's what I meant. Like, isn't that what he's known for? Like, I thought he made the rankings.
So I just looked him up. They list him like at his position as the digital marketing director and also like the social media face of the 2K series. So I don't get why he gets the flack when the ratings come out. Maybe it's just because like he is the face of the game, but I don't get why the fuck that guy's famous. I don't get why the fuck he's in the game. Imagine doing that with any. Imagine if like one of the makers of fucking Call of Duty was in Call of Duty.
He's a selectable soldier you can play as. This fucking dork that sits behind a computer all day. It just doesn't make sense. And
the guy who made Smash Brothers is just another character.
Yeah, just a regular looking guy in an otherwise Mario world.
I can pick Mario, Link, or Jeffrey. All right, you nailed it.
I can either be Mario, Kirby, Donkey Kong, or Jeff L from accounting.
It just doesn't make sense. The other thing that just fucking drives me absolutely batty in all of it is like these ratings change every day, every other day, whatever the amount of times it is. And you'll see players that will jump within a realm of 5 points up or down, like every other day. And nothing, they could have not played a game and it will drop them like 10 points. And it's just like, why the fuck did this person drop? Like, they just haven't had a scheduled game. Like, why are they losing ratings over that? And it's just dumb shit like that where it's like, this doesn't make any sense.
They don't love the game enough.
To go to another team and play for a bit.
This might be a good thing to wrap up on. Donovan Mitchell and Jayson Tatum, who's been the consistent higher 2K rating?
Tatum.
Interesting.
Yeah. That is interesting.
Oh, wait. Jury can rule that out. But
I like that you start by saying ratings don't matter in video games, and you're like, oh, let's hang our hat on that one.
All right, thanks for stopping by, and see you next time. Nah, go ahead. So,
question, Brian, can you tell us a little bit about the story mode and like some of the ridiculous examples that you've seen?
Oh, those are good too.
Oh my god! So for whatever reason, it used to be you would like make your character and like you'd have like shitty ratings or whatever, and you would play like the rookie showcase, maybe a couple games here and there. You do some press conferences and just move on, and your ratings would go up, right? So now there's this whole fucking storyline plot that doesn't need to exist. Like it opens up and like the dude from Grey's Anatomy with a list is like your dad in it, no matter what you make yourself as a nationality. Your dad is a half black man with blue eyes and he's gorgeous. And he played at some junior college or something. Yeah.
Got so you.
Like, all right, like, Blake Griffin.
Like you could be Nigerian and that's your dad still. Like it doesn't make sense in any way, shape, or form.
Shout out Steve Morse if you're listening. Go
ahead. So the biggest problem I had is like they literally paid for whatever that actor's name's rights to being in the game so they could do that story mode the whole way through. The coach while you're like in high school is Idris Elba, who then you have an issue with for some reason, and no matter what you select for options, he doesn't like
Stringer Bell from The Wire.
Yeah.
Why do they need actual actors?
That's what I'm saying. It doesn't make sense. You have to pay to render them. You have to pay for their likeness. You have to pay for their voice acting. Like it doesn't make sense to do this in the game. And then like he doesn't like you when he's coaching you in like high school or junior college or whatever. And then you go to the NBA, and sure enough, Idris Elba is an assistant coach in the NBA all of a sudden, and he happened to be on your team.
Wait.
How do they explain that?
Well, hold on. Maybe I missed something. Is it a character voiced by Idris Elba, or is it actually you're being coached by Idris Elba?
I mean, they just changed his name. They literally face Idris Elba, put him in the video game.
Eventually, it just turns into an ad for HBO Max, so you can watch The Wire.
Yeah, so it's literally Idris Elba playing.
I'm just gonna throw this out there. I feel like there's. Correct me if I'm wrong. We're not three white guys, but we're three three normal guys. I feel like they're digging into a narrative that isn't necessarily the story of every NBA player in the league.
Correct.
Okay.
Correct.
Yeah, I can see where they're going with this.
Yeah.
Dude,
I can picture like my 18-year-old white brother just wanting to play a video game. Okay, I guess this is how players get to the NBA. Wow, interesting.
It's a lot of shit like that doesn't have to happen. And like last year's edition,
and quite often probably doesn't happen. But yeah, go ahead.
Last year's edition was like you and the other top draft prospect were like at odds, and like one of your college teammates has like a career-ending injury in college, and like you're trying to like help him along in life, and like he's just like a terrible person, and you just have to keep making decisions about that. It's just like
the final challenge is you push him out of his wheelchair down a flight of stairs.
What the like it's like shit like that where I would just easily just push him out of the wheelchair and just like, I don't care about you.
I've heard this real. Just again, I haven't consistently played 2K or Madden for probably 5 years.
Yeah,
probably more than that. I've seen a lot of stuff on Twitter and stuff going around that like they're just releasing the same game year over year.
Yeah,
is that facts?
Yeah, pretty much. I mean, this is the one thing I will say is that I will give Madden more credit because they legitimately just update the roster, slap some makeup on it, and just send it out as a new game. Right. 2K goes out of its way to make a worse game and adjust things that no one's asking to be adjusted to make the game worse.
I agree.
Actively every year.
Like I said,
every year.
Yeah, Ari got me 2K21 for Christmas, and I played it, but it's probably the first time I've really played a video game, honestly, since like we used to play. Like I said, 10 years ago. It's definitely not as fun.
No,
it's not the same. It's glitchy. It's like, nah, bro. Like this is not it. I'm not a fan.
I play it to fill the void of playing a basketball video game. That's literally all it is. And it's so terrible of a game.
So what about the show? Is the show better?
From what I hear,
I don't have game, right?
I haven't played it in years, but I mean, it always was a great game. But I'm sure it has stupid glitches just because.
Yeah. Right.
Again, they have no reason when there's no competition. There's no reason to actually improve the game. Like once you have the rights to it, like just send it out every year.
You'll get like, $60 every year. Yeah, definitely. I agree.
Just repeatedly over and over again. Like,
do you play golf? Game. You ever play golf video games like Tiger or Rory?
I mean, Mario Golf, but.
Or Mario, excuse me. The three titans of the industry.
PGA Mario.
No, dude, Mario Golf's the shit. N64, dude, right?
If you take a shit sport and put Mario involved, I'm going to play it. Mario Golf, Mario Tennis. I'm going to play those every single time. If they came out with a Mario Soccer, I'd play that.
I was going to say, there's got to be one that's not there yet outside
the
Mario
Baseball,
major sport.
There's no Mario Water Polo yet.
Yeah. You know, I would play the shit out of that.
I always said... Well, I just thought of this now, so it's not true.
I always said since 1 minute ago.
I would love to have. So can we? I think Mario Party is, in theory, a great concept for a video game.
Correct.
It's like a bunch of quick hit games you can play with your friends. I just feel like it was a little over. And again, when was you would know, Brian? When's the last time a Mario Party was made? Like 10 years ago.
No, they make one for every console. So like Switch has one. I don't know what number they're on, but Switch has one right now because they keep releasing them. Just like Mario Kart. That helps releasing them.
That helps my point. So Mario Party is a great game. I think Mario Party is the ultimate like just college age like game. Like very low stress environment. What is the maximum time limit on a Mario Party game? Like 2 minutes? Like the mini games, I mean.
Oh, I would say 30 to 45 seconds.
Yeah. God, Mario Party is so great. And I feel like they eventually got into the same thing of Madden, where after 3 or 4 Mario Parties, you run out of unique minigame experiences. So you just rebrand the other minigames.
Yeah.
Like you can do a go-kart game. We can do a game where we balance on rolling balls and you got to knock someone off the island. But if I was like 10 years old right now, I'd continue to buy it every year. I would have to. I just don't have the time to do it anymore. So
I think the only exception to that was when it went to Wii and they had like the nunchucks and the motion control. That 100%. Was the one time where they could rebrand it and have the games genuinely be different. But other than that,
I'm an N64 Mario Party guy. It's up there. I think Smash and Mario Kart get all the credit, but Mario Party is big time fun.
Yeah, for sure. Especially when you're talking about college age, where like you have like a drunken night.
It's the best.
You just go back to like the dorm and you just
the best
playing a shit game.
I feel like I'm 10 years old again, but I'm drinking.
And you're not coordinated enough to actually play any of the mini games.
No, fuck that. No, that's great. Good times. I apologize, Brian. I did want to get into some more baseball, but I don't think we're going to be able to tonight. No. Outside of Tom Brenneman. I'm going to ask you this live on the air.
Yeah.
Which will air tomorrow. Do you think we could get you on the show bi-monthly, tri-monthly?
I didn't even want to do this one. So
I think
biannually.
You're going to show up once.
I think you are our most underrated employee.
As in, I didn't know I was employed. Yes, correct.
You're third. We'd like to have you back.
I'll come back at some point.
Behind the scenes, behind the camera. Quite frankly, I don't know what else you do. And quite frankly, I think
you're I don't know what I do.
Grossly overpaid at $0 per hour.
While he's also great at it.
We don't know what I do, but I'm fantastic.
Dollar for dollar, Brian is the best in the industry.
Yeah, I don't know what you do.
Oh, I have no idea.
And we don't pay you, but you are great at it.
Brian is in a sense where I know when I wake up and check Instagram at like 6 or 7 in the morning, there's gonna be something in there that pisses me off. I'll probably respond.
It's almost
no. It's something that will piss me off, or I'll see it and be like, "Oh, Soapy's definitely gonna get pissed off at this in a few hours when he wakes up." And I'm a big fan.
And we wake up earlier than Soapy, so
I know that's the best part.
Waiting for Soapy to show up and just see the.
Well, no, the best part is I go to bed before you guys, but I probably get up definitely before Soapy around the same time as Brian. So I'll wake up and I always make sure I check ESPN before I check Instagram because you guys are going to say something stupid. And then I'll see like, oh, Clippers lost. And then I'll go on Instagram and see Brian sent a clip of like, yo, this Clippers suck. Like, here's why. And it's good times. I enjoy it. So anyway, if you've been following us from the beginning, we finally got Brian Lahey, super producer. He's a real person. That's probably the most common DM we get. Who is this Lahey person? What does he look like? And is he real? What's his social, his address, which we've answered. But to this point, the only question out of those examples is what does he look like? So here it is.
Yeah. Really not worth it. Not worth it.
I will say this. I was very disappointed in my son recently. So we'll get into this more next week. But Brian Lahey was over to talk business. Soapy doesn't know the story, but he came over in the afternoon and my son Carter was doing his thing in the other room and Lahey was leaving. And I was like, all right, I didn't even think he was going to repeat this because he's like just starting to talk. So I don't know what he's going to repeat or not. I was like, all right, Carter, say bye to Brian, thinking he would just ignore me. He goes, oh, bye, Brian. And I was like, oh, fuck. And then as a joke, I was like, all right, Carter, like, do you want to go live with Brian now? And he just like takes Brian's hand. The door starts to open. And I was like, that's not a good look. That's not a good sign.
Way too easy. It was way too easy. All
I had to say was,
I have a
That's what you said.
Like,
that was way too easy. So I'm going to have a sit down with my family over the weekend and discuss boundaries.
The most alarming thing is Carter is a year younger than Kyle. Is that correct? Roughly
Carter's
about a year?
2, just turned 2.
Yeah, so Kyle's about to turn 3. Carter is
out.
Definitely bigger than Kyle is right now. 4-year difference in age. He is a big boy and Kyle is a little fella.
Big guy. Yeah.
Yeah, but also you guys are significantly different in height.
That's fair. Yeah. That's fair. Yeah. I mean, if we're going to turn this into a fat shaming podcast, then whatever. But
I've lost weight, guys.
No, I'm talking about Carter, not you, you idiot.
Oh.
Yeah, I wasn't sure who we were about to fat shame, to be honest. So I was waiting for you guys to finish.
I say we go round robin and just say our truths and then go.
It's been a tough 15 months.
All right, let's sign off here. Rapid fire. Brian, NBA Finals this year. Go.
I'm gonna go with Nets. I really want to say Jazz, but that seems stupid. So I'm gonna go Lakers. Nets, Lakers.
Wow, interesting.
Son of a bitch.
And Brian, remind us of your preseason prediction on the finals.
Heat's Blazers. He got swept. The only team that got swept.
I think I said Nets. I think I said Nets, Clippers. So
yeah,
what do
Clippers don't look that much better than they do. Let's be honest.
Soapy, what do you got for the finals?
I'm gonna stick with the original Nets, Lakers. And
really, Lakers? I think they lose tonight. I think Lakers lose tonight, bro.
If anyone wants to put some money on the Lakers, they're like it makes sense.
Are they
plus 1,400
to win the finals?
Yeah.
Oh, I thought you meant win tonight. God damn. Oh, plus 1,400. You can't afford not to put $20 on that.
I was gonna say $2.
Sure. Well,
that's a drastically different number.
Shows you who makes more money in the company. But yes, definitely. That Bucks. I don't know. I need to see. Obviously, this is. I'll say Nets now, but I think we'll learn a lot from the first couple of games of that Bucks series. If they just like manhandle them and Giannis just like literally revs up before the inbound and runs through like Kevin Durant, that could be a fun series.
Yeah, I again, 3 superstars.
Too much firepower. Yeah. Give me Nets. Give me Nets. I don't think the Lakers or Clippers make it out of this round. I really don't. So I'm gonna go.
I'd love if they didn't.
Me too.
I would love if Blazers went, but I just don't see that as a real viable option.
What's the score in the Blazers game?
Oh, I haven't even looked.
Me neither. What do we got now? Ooh. Blazer. Denver's up 3-2. Interesting. Blazers are up 10 going into halftime. Oh, I'd love that series is like the epitome of a game 7. That's going 7. Blazers will win tonight. I'm gonna go Nets. God damn.
Hornets.
Nets, Hornets. I was thinking the same thing.
Nets and Hornets.
Nets, Seahawks is what I was thinking. Nah, give me Nets. Fuck it. Nets, Lakers. It's inevitable. It's gonna happen.
It's so hard not to pick the Lakers.
Yeah,
it's so
it'll
hard
happen.
not to pick the Nets.
All right.
I went into the season not picking either one, and now when you're in the playoffs, it's kind of hard.
If AD's playing tonight, they'll win tonight. Yeah, Nets, Lakers. What are we doing here? Wasting our time. All right. Brian, thanks again, buddy. See you at work tomorrow, and see the rest of you guys next time. Peace.
Can I call out now?
Send in the PTO request. I'll review it.
Cool.
All right. Peace.
Peace.